This episode of the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you by Recovery Family Law. Recovery Family Law is here to help you solve your family law problems. If you are going through a separation or divorce, they can provide you the confidence to make good decisions and support to enforce your rights. If you have a question about property, children or support, they have the answers. It's not too late or too early to get help. Email info@recoveryfamilylaw.ca or visit recoveryfamilylaw.ca and let their team get you excellent results.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And I'm Harjeet.
Yes, we've got Har back on the show, and I know what you're thinking. You've only got Har on the show because of all the scandal this past week. No, we'd actually booked Har to come on the show. I spoke to her last weekend. I mentioned it on the last podcast as well. I said, Har's going to be on next week to talk about the two Canadian women's games because we thought that would be the main things that we'd be talking about. That's not quite how it's worked out. I think everyone now knows what we're going to be talking about for the first two parts of this show. We are going to talk about the Canadian women's national team, the drone scandal. I was going to call this episode initially Droning On and On, but I've thought I've had enough of this now, and I'm calling it after what I always do, a line from one of the songs in the show. See if you can pick out the song when you listen to the show. But yeah, it's been a very busy week, Har. Normally I start off by saying, how has your week been? I know how hellish your week's been, but how has your week been, Har?
It's been never ending. It just keeps going with all these drones and statements and press conferences and Zooms and grass and Wrexham and Whitecaps. It's just too much, Michael. I need a siesta.
It has been quite the week. Now, I am genuinely concerned that we're going to record this, and by the time it's edited and put out, there'll be another 3 stories break that just makes everything irrelevant. But
Yeah.
it's been a crazy week. In some ways, though, it's been like Christmas for you because it's all Canadian women's soccer and stories about grass pitches. It's like right in your wheelhouse.
And Christmas is my favorite time of year because you get lots of presents and you see family and friends and food. So it's like that, but grass and drones. So it's been a very busy week. A lot of articles, a lot of statements, tracking down a lot of sources, figuring out what's going on with a lot of situations. So it's been really hectic. So it's good to be in demand, even though it's kind of all at once.
Yeah, you've been on radio in all over the world. You've been writing so many things as well. Are you dreaming about drones?
No, I would like to be able to have some dreams if I can get some good sleep in.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help as well when, like, Canada Soccer decide to have press conferences at 4:15 a.m. our time.
Yeah, 30 minutes notice.
Yeah.
I was like half awake for that. I did not enjoy that.
I was asleep. I didn't even know that was going on. But so we know Har's had a busy week. How has your week been? It's been busy in different ways.
Well, my week, my week, my month, my summer, it's been utter chaos. But
How many
um,
trips back to Ontario have you had now? Three in a month?
in the last 6 weeks, I've spent over 3 weeks in Ontario.
I mean, I would not wish that on anyone. I mean,
Okay.
it's better than Winnipeg, where JJ Adams is heading off on holiday just now, but still. Well, I say
Yeah.
holiday. I don't know if anyone goes to Winnipeg for a holiday.
Does he have relatives there, or what's he
He's
doing there?
visiting family.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Poor JJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I had my stepfather passed away, and so I got to go see him while he was ill, and then went back for a work conference thing, and after he passed away, and then this last trip was for his celebration of life, as they call it. So yeah, no, it was meaningful time with family, and obviously I got to take in some football, which I knew I was going to do one match, but I got to do another, which was a bonus, and then yeah, just lots of really meaningful times with friends and family.
That's excellent. Nice of you to keep it light there.
Sorry. Well, are we talking about the death of Canadian football today?
Well, that's true. That is very, very true, I
Or,
guess.
sorry, the demise. The
The
demise.
demise, yes. It's still alive and kicking on the pitch. Yeah, we're obviously we're going to talk Canadian women's national team, the scandal, but we're also going to talk the Whitecaps Wrexham game. We're going to bring you some fun audio as well from George Evans, Owen O'Connell, Stephen Fletcher, Phil Parkinson from Wrexham. We got some good chats with them. Our feature interview this episode, I have a sit down one-on-one with Ali Ahmed as well to chat about his time at Copa and his Whitecaps season so far. That'll come in part three, the Wrexham Whitecaps stuff in parts 4 and 5. But for the first two parts, we're talking Canada, Olympics, the women's team, drones, the scandal, and everything that goes with it. And just in case you've been living under a rock, or in case sensibly you'd switched off your social media and haven't followed this every minute of every day, I really wish I'd done that, and Har's nodding along as well. Here's a quick breakdown of the timeline of how things played out. I know some of you will know it, but we do have listeners all around the world, so they might not know all of this. So I'll try and break this down as quickly as possible. Here's how it all played out. It kind of starts on Saturday, July 20th, when New Zealand were training at Michon Stadium in Saint Etienne. 2 days later, July 22nd, is where it all started to go down. New Zealand football lodged a complaint with the Olympic Committee after a drone was seen hovering over Auguste Jury Stadium. The team manager of New Zealand had informed the supervisor of the Olympic Committee of the drone and immediately stopped their training session. The Olympic training site then informed the police that a drone was hovering over the stadium because drone use for the Olympics had been outlawed. Joseph Lombardi, an unaccredited analyst, is how he was billed, more on that later, was operating the drone and filmed the closed-door training session of New Zealand. He was arrested. His hotel room was searched. The drone was seized, and Lombardi admitted that videos of two closed training sessions, including the one on July 20th, as long as the one on July 22nd, had enabled him to learn the tactics of the opposing team. Lombardi was charged with flying an unmanned aircraft over a prohibited area and accepted an 8-month suspended sentence. Assistant coach Jasmine Mander was interviewed but not charged. Now, somehow, all this went down on Monday, but it was really only on Wednesday that the shit really started to hit the fan. July 24th, New Zealand Football lodged a complaint with the Canadian Olympic Committee, who offered their heartfelt apologies to the New Zealand players and representatives. An impromptu press conference was held by the COC, and CEO David Schumacher was asked by myself about possible future punishments, Would Canada forfeit the game the next day against New Zealand? And he revealed that the IOC weren't investigating, FIFA were, and that New Zealand football had asked that Canada collect no points from the match on Thursday, whatever the result might be. Canada head coach Bev Priestman removed herself voluntarily from the opening match. She said, though, that she knew nothing about this incident. She didn't instruct the drone use, and she was shocked. But the buck stopped with her, etc., etc. And David Schumacher said he believes that she knew nothing about it. Lombardi and Mander, however, were removed from the Canadian Olympic team and were sent home immediately. Canada soccer staff were also ordered to undergo mandatory ethics training. Thursday, July 25th. Canada got the 2-1 win over New Zealand on Thursday in their first group stage game in the defence of their Olympic gold medal. Had to come from behind to do it. Mackenzie Barry had given New Zealand an early goal. Chloe Lacasse levelled just before half-time, and Evelyn Vienne scored the winner in the 79th minute. France beat Colombia in their first group game in the same group 3-2 on Thursday. So France and Canada leading the group and set to meet on Sunday. Now, shortly after their win over New Zealand, Canada Soccer announced that it had suspended Bev Priestman for the remainder of the games and that she was sent home from the Olympics. Assistant coach Andy Spence, who was already going to take charge of the team for the New Zealand game, was named the team's interim coach for the rest of the tournament. Now, those announcements on Thursday came as a report from TSN alleged that spying was something that had been going on for years within both the men and the women's national team programmes. The women's team were even allegedly using drones to spy on opponents during both the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo and the following year when they were trying to qualify for the Women's World Cup. Friday, July 26th. Kevin Blue, Canada Soccer CEO, held a press conference on Friday, which was at 4:15 a.m. Pacific time. Unsurprisingly, myself and many others from out here were not on that call. But Blue said that no players were involved in the drone spying scandal, and he hoped that FIFA would take into consideration how Canada Soccer had handled the whole situation and not issue any more punishments, or bear that in mind and maybe some lenient punishments. Blue said that he did learn that there was an attempted drone usage by a member of the men's coaching staff during Copa America. Blue said that Jesse Marsch then learned about it after the fact and denounced it. And basically, Jesse Marsch has come out and said that is not how he wants to go about business. The same day, July 26th, Christine Sinclair issued a statement on Instagram that she and the team were never shown any drone footage in their 23 years on the national team. Then July 27th, Saturday, the bombshell news came out. FIFA banned Bev Priestman, Jasmine Mander and Joey Lombardi from all soccer activities for a year. Canada were docked 6 points on their group, putting them to -3. And the CSA were fined what equates to about $175,000. Later that day, about 3 o'clock-ish Pacific time, ESPN's Sam Borden said that US Soccer had known about and been the victims of several spying incidents in recent years, and they caught a Canada Soccer staffer spying on them during a practice in 2021. And apparently, allegedly, Canada had used drones to spy on teams ahead of Copa America this summer. Now, it said US Soccer never reported it, in part due to the concerns of what kind of impact it would have on the relationship with Canada Soccer ahead of the joint 2026 World Cup bid, amongst other close working relationships. And that brings us right up to date today, Sunday, July 28th. Canada needing to win their last two matches in the group to have any chance of advancing to the knockout stage, fell behind to the hosts France before a stunning comeback. Jesse Fleming tying things up in the 58th minute, and then Vanessa Gilles scoring the game-winning goal 12 minutes into stoppage time, giving Canada the 2-1 victory and giving them some hope that they can get out of the group and keep their Olympics alive. That wasn't to be the end of the news, though, that was coming out today, as Christian Jack and Gareth Wheeler on One Soccer talked about the fact that Canadian staff had asked the Canadian Olympic Committee to bring drones with them over to France. They were denied, but they brought them anyway. So that is the very long timeline. Tried to make it as short as I could. I think that was about 8 minutes. That's not great for you to listen to, I know. But I think it's important just to get it all out there, all in the one piece. Also, for revisiting for me if I listen to this down the road. But it's a lot to unpack here. We'll do it over the next two parts. In this part, we'll look at the initial story that broke, the initial reactions. And I want to look at the two games on the pitch as well, because I think that's been lost, a lot of the focus in that. So the initial reaction, when this broke, I mean, what were you, what was your thinking? What was your initial reaction to this?
So I had just recorded a hit with another outlet. I won't say who. And so I just finished that, and I checked my phone and saw that there's I believe, a statement from New Zealand football, or the New Zealand Olympic Committee, regarding a drone usage. And at that point, we only knew it was one drone, one incident. So then the Canadian Olympic Committee, as you just said, what happened. So then that came through with a statement. So, it was really kind of small, and it snowballed. And then you had Bev speaking up the next day on the Wednesday, and then more COC stuff and more statements, FIFA and IOC investigating. So it kind of just caught on and took a life of its own. And so it just it moved along quite rapidly because the tournament was underway with the games. And so the FIFA, sanctions came down as well. So it was quite shocking to see that happening, and just like a snowball, like an avalanche. So
every single day, it feels like there's two or three new stories and new information coming out.
Yeah, new statements, just evolving and changing. And so, Canada Soccer or the Olympic Committee would put out a statement, or FIFA. And so then you'd have to react to that news, and the next day something else would come out. And so you have that, and then you have the two games. So it just kept changing with more news and more updates. So it's kind of a story that, you're living in, and then kind of seeing what's happening and then reacting to that, because we're all just waiting to see what's going to happen, progressing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. None of us know what's next. And there's been stuff happen in the last few days that you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. And it does feel everyone's coming out of the woodwork now. All these unnamed sources are speaking to the big media. And you're like, when's it going to stop? When's it going to end? And it's a huge distraction for the players. And we'll talk about the punishment side in the next part. But to have this hanging over them, it's like you listen to some of the interviews today, and it's like they haven't slept. They've been in tears. This is just sheer hell for these players to go through.
Yeah, they play their entire careers to try and make it to an Olympics or a World Cup game, and then you're on the roster. You have a tournament. You look at Gabby Carl. She's been an alternate going in for 3 Olympic games, and so she's started these last 2. But it would be a dream, I guess, of hers to be able to participate in the Olympics, and she has played as an alternate in the previous Olympics. But someone like her, you look at her, then you look at all the players, and Vanessa Gilles as well, scoring a big goal today, and it's their dream to be on that stage and have that opportunity. And with what's happening, it's really taken away from the team. It's a huge distraction, and we're not really talking about the team, the players in the games. It's the drones and the scandals and what's happening away from the pitch. So it's really taken away from the Olympics and getting behind and supporting the team, which I am starting. We're seeing more of that now after the win over France, so that's
Yeah.
good. Hopefully, it stays that way, and there's not more statements or news. I think that's a big ask, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Who knows what happens now before the next game, which is a crunch game for them as well.
This is a disaster. I mean, this whole this is I feel like when you have like your favorite football kit, Michael, and you like accidentally like rub up against something that like snags it.
Oh, I've done that with my Dulwich Hamlet top within 30 seconds of having it.
And then you're like, oh, it's just a little thread I can just pull out and just get rid of and fix the problem. Yeah, except for
Oh,
then you pull that thread and the whole jersey comes apart.
that's a
That,
very good analogy.
that's what's going on. Like that's what feels like we're in the process of going through right now. Like this is like a thing that has significant ramifications. I mean, you can talk about the okay. I know there's so many conversations around all of this, right? So you could talk about, oh, I know one of the conversations is this that bad, you know, I know some people are saying that conversation is nonsense, and some people are saying no, it's a legitimate conversation we have. You could talk about um, maybe a lesser conversation is how much is this going on in other parts of football, right? Which I'm a little bit, I'm partially a little bit surprised that we haven't heard more of that and more of like
Yeah,
other. And we know
maybe
this.
other places, countries, clubs are a bit more careful and not doing it in a high security area where drone use is banned.
But that's the thing, though, Michael. I think that speaks to how deep within the culture of the women's team and or the men's and women's team together has been. I don't think you do what these people did without this having been like an ongoing like I you like you said, you have to be somewhat foolish to be like, oh yeah, or you're so brazen, so confident, so like whatever. And I don't think that happened. Like we know that this is not the first time, right? You don't just this
Mm.
wasn't just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go do this for this game and whatever. No, this is something that feels like has been a significant part of how they prepared for things for a while. And so, anyways, yeah, there's so many different conversations around all this. I think it is so unfortunate that it's happening now. It is so unfortunate that it's happening to the women's team. I won't go into great detail, Michael. You and I have talked lots over the years about the different issues surrounding the women's team, and I, I'll be honest. Maybe I haven't said this on the show, but I've definitely you and I have talked about this, Michael. I struggle with some of those issues because it feels like with the emergence of the women's club game, the way that they're going about it could destroy or be detrimental to the men's club game in our country.
Mm.
And I don't want it. I don't want the emergence of the women's game to have a negative impact on the men's game. And I don't just mean like, oh, taking eyeballs off it. I mean destroying it.
And
Um,
big financial hits.
yeah, financially, of course, yeah. Like I want the women to have. I want us to have a women's domestic league. I want all these things to. I want the women to have the opportunities they've never had. I want all those things. I just I just don't agree with some of the ways they've gone about it, or the ways, and specifically their unwillingness to work with clubs like HFX Wanderers or well, let's just say other CPL clubs. Uh, I don't like that. I don't like their approach in that. I understand why they have it and whatever, but I would never wish upon them this. I would never wish upon them this catastrophe. Because again, this is going to, as this unravels, the ramifications could be huge.
Mm.
Now, in a few months or a year from now, we could be sitting here saying, "Hey, it wasn't so bad. They had an issue. They had issues at the tournament where it took place or where it was discovered to be a problem and a bigger problem than we thought. But it hasn't really caused the unraveling we thought. But it legitimately could unravel so many things for them.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, not just the team, but also the men's team.
Yeah. We'll talk about Bev Priestman in the next part. But if we look at the two main figures from the early part of the scandal, Jasmine Mander, Joseph Lombardi. Now, I know Jasmine Mander a little bit, and she's highly thought of as a head coach or
Yeah,
as a coach. She's an up
yeah,
and coming coach. She's 29 years old, and I thought she would be a shoo-in to probably be a head coach in the new NSL. In one of the teams, maybe even the Whitecaps, because she's got the connections there. And all of a sudden, her whole world has unraveled. And we won't get into all the finger pointing and the blame and who knew what and who did that, because we don't know. We're guessing, we're kind of surmising from things that we're reading. But initially, she was kind of the scapegoat because it was said that Joseph Lombardi fed into her.
yeah,
And then the ad, I think Ben Steiner found it and then a few others tweeted it out as well. There was an ad on the Canada Soccer website for an analyst
yeah.
in
From
January 23. And it says on it, um, drone use. But obviously it's for your own practices.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
what does. But interestingly, it said that that person didn't report to the assistant coach. They reported to the Canadian women's national team head coach, which was Bev Priestman. So it's hard not to think Jasmine Mander was the one that took the fall, and they thought, oh, maybe that will be the end of it. But it hasn't quite worked out that way. But I mean, we don't know what wrongdoing she may or may not have done. But I do feel sorry for Jasmine.
yeah. It's a tough spot, a tough situation for her, up and coming coach. As you said, a 1 year ban. We don't know if it's going to be appealed or if it's going to be reduced. And, it's really, I would think it's going to impact her career in football because people are going to, see that and her
Mhm.
name and everything. And so, yeah, it's a tough situation. I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but yeah, you feel for, the people involved. Obviously, Bev's the head coach, so it stops with her. But yeah, it's certainly tough.
The thing with it as well with Jasmine, because she's a technical director, I think in North Delta, it might just be Delta Soccer Club. So no football activities for a year. So she's also lost that job. So now she just has to go and find another job as well for the next year. Now, with Joseph Lombardi, I do not for a minute believe that Joseph Lombardi went rogue. It's like that was his job to do what he was doing, and he did what he was doing. He gets arrested. He gets an 8 month suspended jail sentence. Now, that in itself must have been terrifying for him, just to be questioned and in prison and everything like that. But Lombardi, he's been involved with the national team for a while. He earned his coaching B diploma in 2006 and his A diploma in 2009. He served as Canada team staff at the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand last year. He's been team staff at 6 FIFA youth tournaments from 2012 up to 2022. So he's part of this program. And when it came out that, oh, an unaccredited staff member did this, it's like
Come
he
on,
is
yeah.
very much embroiled in the Canadian
Yeah,
national team.
come on. Not having accreditations, that's down to the Olympics and just how many accreditations there are available for each, federation and then each sport and each team. So for him not having it, it's just down to the numbers game and who has them and how many are available. He's very much a part of the team. He was with the team at the World Cup in Australia. So for, non-accredited, just some random guy, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I don't, yeah, go ahead.
He's also been John Herdman's performance
Yeah, I
analyst
was
since
just gonna say that.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So very
yeah.
lengthy career resume with Canada Soccer. So I don't think we'll be seeing him involved
No.
for a long time.
Let's talk about the two games. We won't go into them in a ton of depth, but I want to focus on that because this is the important thing for the team, for the players, and they need to get focused and put all outside distractions away, which I think to an extent they can. They probably can now, because everything's just going to be like a closed door around them. And as long as they stay off social media, as long as they don't read stuff online, they can be in that little bubble. Now, the game against New Zealand. So New Zealand had asked that Canada didn't get any points from the game.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fair.
Yeah.
But New Zealand were like, we're not asking them to forfeit the game and give us the 3 points. We want to play the game and earn the points. So I thought that was good sporting integrity. And because they could easily have said, no, we want them forfeited. We want the 3 points without playing the game.
I think New Zealand should have got 3 points.
I do as well. I was going to say, despite what New Zealand were saying, I think that game should have been forfeited and it was 3 points to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And in some ways, with the punishment, because it's going to be the 6 point deduction, they've already got the 3 from winning against New Zealand. So it's really just a 3 point deduction. It would have been so much simpler. And I don't think anyone would have been as outraged if they had just forfeited that game and given the 3 points to New Zealand, because then it would be the 3 points, which it basically is. But because it's a 6 point reduction, everyone's outraged that, oh, it's terrible, 6 points. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really just 3 points.
It's kind of negative 6 points, but then they won 2 games, so now they're 0. New Zealand gets host. New Zealand properly is host.
Yeah, New Zealand got screwed by not being awarded that game. But when New Zealand took the lead, I was like, oh boy, this is just the worst possible thing that could have happened to the team. But to their credit, they fought back so well. And they were deserved winners in the end because New Zealand just had no attack after that.
And as I have said previously earlier in the week, Canada does own New Zealand, and we saw that with the 2-1 victory.
Yes, and it's like, why spy on them? It's like, it's a team you've not lost against. Why would you spy on
if there's
them?
maybe a culture of spying, that's what happens.
Yeah, perhaps. So, Zach, what was your thoughts just on the New Zealand game quickly? It was a much needed win for the team, but do you agree with Har and me? Should they just have forfeited it and given New Zealand the 3 points? It would have saved a lot of the outrage from the other punishment that eventually came down the road.
And I can't fully agree with you on that for 2 reasons. For at least 2 reasons. Number one, I think that even if they had done that, said, oh, we're just going to give you the 3 points and forfeit this game, I still think the IOC or FIFA or whoever technically came down with all these things would still have given them significant punishments. And so I don't think
there would definitely have been something.
So I believe that if they had done that, I still think they could have got the exact same punishment, Michael. So like it would have been like tournament over, right? That's one. Probably the bigger thing, Michael, is every single one of those players that we've heard from or that I've heard from has all to a T said, look, this is not us. This is our coaches. We're here to perform. This is our dream. We're here to live it out. We're going to go live it out. And so I'm okay that they played the game. I'm okay that they went out and did the thing that they love to do, live out the thing that, for some of them, a dream, for some of them, an extension of a dream that they've already lived in previous tournaments. I don't think it was awful that New Zealand was asking for there to be no points awarded. I think that was totally legit. Lots of people said the whole fact that they were spying on New Zealand is strange because it's an opponent you'd expect them to beat. I don't know if you've talked about the added awkward layer that your coach, who supposedly knew about this.
Oh, no, we haven't. Yeah.
Is married to a woman from New Zealand.
But there's also the fact that like Jasmine Manda's brother is on the coach or in the staff of the New Zealand team.
Yeah. So there's so many layers. There's so much. There's so many facets to this diamond. It's hard to capture them all at once. But no, I think they should have played the game. I think you saw in the game. I think it was a nice story. The game, if you will. It was a nice story where you see New Zealand coming out and scoring first and being like, yeah, we're going to take it to Canada. Your coaches cheated and we're going to, it was almost like, it was this emotional drama, this emotional play that played out. And then, for the Canadians, you saw their quality, you saw their class, you saw their resiliency in how they fought back to to claim the 3 points that they desperately need in a competitive sense in this tournament with the punishments that they're facing.
Yeah.
So that was the New Zealand game. Well, fast forward to today's game, another 2-1 victory. Now, I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I was commentating out in North Van. I'd had the result spoiled, so I just came home and fast forwarded through it. So I've just seen the goals, the goalkeeper injury, and I guess the most pertinent bits of the game. So, I mean, how did you look at the reaction today against France, the performance, the huge 3 points, and what this is going to mean to this team now moving forward?
Yeah, when the game started and we saw the lineup, I thought, well, where's Adriana Leon and Lacasse and Becky? They're all on the bench. So
I mean,
guess
if anyone should be playing in France, it's somebody called Leon.
I'm sorry. Aside from your joke, I just don't rate her. I know she's good. I know she scored lots of goals. I know she adds things for sure. There's something about, I don't know.
I like it
as a player.
Anyways, as I was saying.
Yes, before you were rudely interrupted.
Yes. Anyways, I thought the lineup was very defensive, but it turned out quite well with Andy Spence in the first half. It was very defensive. They sat back a lot. They absorbed a lot of pressure. France had 71% of the possession in the first half. So I think maybe they were trying to get 0-0 at the half and then bring on some offense. But as we know, France, Marie Antoinette scored to give France a 1-0 lead. But then, Canada, they just kept pouring it on in the second, really dominated. I think the injury to the keeper, as you mentioned, and Captain Wendy Reynard, that was a huge loss for France. So getting that first goal for Fleming and then just putting everyone forward, and then Vanessa scoring, Becky to Leon to Heidema to then Vanessa. It was just amazing to see Canada, after they worked so hard, after they poured everything into that match to get a result and still stay alive going into that Colombia game. So it was great for Canada, for Canadians to see the team come together and really overcome these -6 points that they were hit with. Zach, now you can.
I still wonder, why does Marie Antoinette not do a celebration of eating cake?
I was going to make a cake joke. Damn it, you beat me to it.
She's an athlete. She doesn't have time for cake. Not like us.
Well, she kept her head to finish the goal.
She did. Caitlin Sheridan made a big save off of her right before the tying goal. So she could have buried it and had a brace, and we wouldn't even be talking about that. So,
oh, yeah. I mean, that would have guillotined the
Sheridan was awesome. Yeah. Any more jokes?
Well, I've just been listening to a thing about the French Revolution, so that's why it's very fresh in my head. Literally, on Saturday, driving around, I was listening to a comedy drama about the French Revolution by Humphrey Carr and the Penny Dreadful.
I also didn't get to watch the game because I was traveling today, but I have seen the goals. And yeah, again, it's like another crazy story. Like there's this storm going around these players, and yet they resist. They resist kind of giving in, and they never quit. They never quit on each other. And who knows what's going to happen from here? Who knows if the fairy tale will continue for them? Who knows if they'll be able to defend, 3 times on the podium and obviously the gold. But I was happy for them as players, as I think we all were, just to see how they never quit and played to the end and got the winner that they desperately needed.
Well, you saw like Vanessa's scream when she scored as well. That, I think, was just letting everything out from the past week. Yeah. And that, if they go on and win a medal, that is going to be one of the iconic photos from this Olympic Games for Canada.
Yeah.
And they can now finish second in the group. All they have to do is beat Colombia and they're through.
It's not that easy, though. Colombia has been playing some nice stuff.
I know. They can roughhouse.
Yeah. Last thing in this part, Andy Spence. Now, he's not been implicated in any of this, but considering the head coach and one of the assistant coaches has gone, should he have been allowed to stay as well?
What are you trying to say, Michael?
No, I'm just like a genuine question. Like, should they not have just brought in fresh coaches to the team?
I don't know. It's up to, I guess, Canada Soccer to decide that, or the COC. So they kept him there. So I guess he's allowed to coach. He's permitted. So I guess maybe they didn't want to clean house with the whole staff. But I don't know. That's a question for Canada Soccer, maybe.
It's hard to. I was just at Canada's Wonderland,
Oh,
and
is it? Okay.
yeah, and my kids, we love going on the Whitewater Canyon, which is great. But right next to Whitewater Canyon is Timberwolf Falls, which is essentially your classic log ride. And the way they built it though is the way you come off the ride, you walk across the bridge where the log ride goes underneath, and you can stand there and just be. It's you get more wet than when you go on the ride because the wave just comes over the bridge and like splashes on everyone there. And yeah, this whole thing feels like it's like going to splash on a lot of people. Like there's a lot of Canadian officials standing on a bridge, both current, past and present. And I don't know if at the end of all this that Andy Spence will be completely dry. He'll be covered by other people and not tainted by this. I'd be a little bit surprised if he wasn't. But in terms of them keeping him, I think that it made sense, and I think that it was helpful for the group. I think as a whole, probably, although it still feels like, as an outsider, it still feels like there's this, um, like the, and I've heard a few things, like I think maybe you guys have as well, that there is a little bit of the players sticking together and not like disregarding the coaches, but they're kind of doing it for each other, right?
Oh yeah, like I'm sure right now all these players hate the coaching staff and everything that's
Yeah.
gone on.
Yeah.
And I'm not pointing fingers at Andy Spence. I'm not making accusations. I just find it very hard to believe that there's one member of the coaching staff that didn't know anything about this, whereas the other coaching staff did. And that's
Exactly.
that's all I'm saying
We'll
about
have
that.
to see what the investigations
Yeah.
kind of tell us going forward with that.
That said, though, he's done a fantastic job in these two games.
He's undefeated.
Yeah. And if he comes out of this squeaky clean and dry, he's got to be in the frame for
Yeah,
taking over the team.
definitely. Yeah.
So we've looked at the on-pitch things. We've looked at the start of all this. In the next part, I guess, is the juicy bit. We're going to look at the fallout, the FIFA punishment, and what may lie in store. And we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Stephanie LeVay, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, I had a couple of songs in mind. I had a song I've been waiting to play for weeks by Idols, which is a cover of a song from the kids' show Hey Dougie. I'm saving that. I was going to play a song by our good friend Mad Hat McGore called The Circus, because this has kind of been a bit of a circus. But then that song in the section I was going to play dropped the C bomb 10 times in about 30 seconds. So I thought that's probably not good to have on the show. So instead, I've settled from a band from Dunfermline in Fife, punk band The Skids from 1979 and their second album, Days of Europa. And that was The Olympian. Very apt since we're talking about the Olympic Games. I've been to Olympia, in Greece. I had a day trip there on a cruise, and it was amazing to see the original Olympia.
Isn't
Highly
there
re-
one in Washington State as well?
I've been to that one. It's not as good. Also, I've stayed at the Olympia Inn, and that was the worst place I've stayed in all my life. I'm amazed I even fell asleep.
I was
But
gonna
yeah,
say I've been to
Olympia in
Olympia.
Greece is amazing.
I was gonna say I've been to Olympia, Washington, and it's not that memorable.
My favorite things from Olympia, Washington, I love Courtney Loves Hall, K Records, Beat Happening, all great stuff from Olympia. Sleater Kinney. Okay, moving on from the music, back to the football. I'm just getting shaking heads here and more on the fallout from Drone Gate. Why does everything have to be a gate? What if it involves a gate? Well, we call it Gate. What if Bill Gates is involved in a scandal? Gate. These are the questions that keep me awake at night, Har.
Should take something.
Yeah. Caitlin says that regularly. The last time we all got together, we had lots of good chats about Celine Dion.
She's an icon. Me and Zach agree.
You all made me cut it out because you thought that was going to be the biggest scandal to affect Canada this year. How wrong you were.
It would have been if you left it in.
Well, we're going to talk about the fallout from this, and I've saved the FIFA punishment to this part. Now, we haven't discussed this amongst ourselves, so I don't know people's views on this. We might strongly disagree. I can probably say there's some things that I'm going to say in this that are probably going to piss some folk off that are listening. I'm sorry, but it's just how I feel about these things. So FIFA's punishment.
Sorry, not sorry, right, Michael?
Basically,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you for listening. I hope you still do. But yeah, let us know your opinions on it if you do vehemently disagree. And I think some of you might. So at FIFA's punishment, 6 points deducted, year-long ban from all soccer activities for Bev Priestman, Jasmine Mander, and Joey Lombardi, and a fine that equated to about, I think it was 200 Swiss francs or something. So the FIFA punishment, some are saying it's unprecedented and FIFA haven't handed out punishments like this before. Yeah, because nobody's been stupid enough to get caught, as we touched on in the last part, as part of that. Now, there's been other folk as well that have said, well, they punish Canada for this. Why don't they punish all the racism that goes on? It's two very different things. Yes, they should punish both, but you can't hold one up against the other here. But I mean, just what was your thoughts on the FIFA punishment, Har?
I don't have any issue with it. I think it was fair. They could have gotten more. They could have gotten tossed out of the tournament entirely, suspending Joey, Jasmine, and Bev for a year. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a good, fitting punishment for what transpired. Also, there could be an appeal, so it could be more, it could be less. We don't know. The IFC is going to investigate. Canada Soccer is going to investigate. So it could be more, it could be less as well. The 6 points, as we talked about earlier, yeah, I don't have a problem with that either. I think you really have to throw down the hammer at the gauntlet and say, you can't be bringing in drones into a place where you're not supposed to even have drones, and then doing it once and then twice. I mean, I think it sends a message that this will not be tolerated at the Olympics or a major tournament. And so FIFA doing this and getting it fast tracked right away through the disciplinary. Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree with that definitely 100%, and it could have been worse. So I think Canada's lucky to still be in the tournament.
100% agree with everything that you said there. And the thing is, like, a lot of folk, Zach, they throw up like the Bielsa thing with Leeds and the punishment that he got. Now, it's club v country, it's very different things. But it's not just that. You've done it at the Olympics. And the Olympics is meant to have this Olympic spirit. And it's meant to put everything else in the world aside, and you're just focusing on this. But it's not only that, you've broken the law because there was a ban on drones in France. So it's all these things combined. And as Har said, I think this is FIFA just saying, right, we're making an example of Canada, but we're sending a clear message, which they'll now have to keep doing. They have to be consistent in this. And I think it was a fair punishment. I think it could have been a lot more. I think like Bev could have got a longer one than even a year, but you also don't know what these other sort of reviews are going to throw up. You also don't know about the appeal because FIFA and appeals are not quick moving things, but they kind of have to be quick moving because the group stages are nearly finishing. But then court of arbitration could get involved, and this is just a giant mess.
I think one of the most comical comments I saw online was, "It's not like they broke the law or anything."
Yeah,
It's like, no, literally,
they literally broke the law
like when the French police arrest you,
and sentence you to 8 months in prison.
well, suspended
Oh,
sentence.
suspended, but still, the sentence was 8 months. That's not
Um,
just a little slap on the wrist, go away.
no, yeah, I mean, there's a lot you just said there, Michael. I think it was really interesting to see how quickly FIFA acted because, yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, things in football sometimes, like in auto racing, sometimes you see like the race happens, they're like, "Oh, we're going to give you a penalty after the race," and you're like, "That's not really helpful. Like, deal with this now. Like, watch the video." And in football, you see, I mean, we have a situation. Canada has another situation where they were affected by the slowness or the choice to be slow in responding to an incident at the Copa with the Uruguayan squad, where that's still not settled, and it was like
Yes.
it totally impacted the rest of the tournament or the final games of the tournament. So I think it's interesting that FIFA acted so quickly.
I mean,
I
they
think they realized.
basically had to, though, because the group stages are going on.
Oh yeah, I think they realized that we have enough evidence. There's enough proof. We need to act very swiftly. I think because of that, I think they were able to also maybe be. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, the 6 points is too harsh," and so, but I think FIFA, if you feel that's harsh, I think FIFA allowed themselves to be a little bit harsher because teams can appeal. Now, just quick, I think we texted about this, Michael, but like this is only about this incident at this tournament, right? Like
Yes.
Yeah,
there's going to
yeah.
be further
Yes.
stuff. This is going to ripple out to those other instances, right?
Yeah.
Like
That's
that's
the
where
big
the
concern.
takes everything apart. I think for this, because originally I saw some people saying, "Oh, they're not going to appeal because it sounds like they're getting off," and I was just like, "They're getting off kind of light." But yeah, but when you weigh in the fact that no, this is only this tournament and this situation, like I said before with the whole shirt unraveling thing, like this could this could still go really bad, really
Mhm.
not quickly, but slowly.
Now, this is the bit that I'll pick my words carefully because I know there are some very sensitive people in the WOSO community. But I mean, I don't need to tell you this, Harry, you're involved in it so much. It's a very insular bubble.
Mhm.
You don't take criticism of the players, the teams well. And they, not all, but there's a section of the women's fan base that are almost maniacal about the players. And like we've seen it with the American players where there's been scandals and they track down their Venmo spending or and stuff and they know exactly where they've been drinking and stuff. And to me, that way crosses a line between fan and borderline stalking these players. This isn't like that, but everyone in the women's, not everyone, but a lot of people in the women's soccer community have been very defensive of the women's players, and rightly so, because it's not their fault. The reaction, though, has felt very over the top and saying, oh, it's a disgrace with the 6 points. And I've seen folks saying there shouldn't be any points. Bev should be banned for 10 years and putting everything on the coaches. And while I totally believe Christine Sinclair saying that in all her years there, she's never seen any footage from a drone. totally believe that. But there is absolutely no way that the players have not attended training sessions that have been drawn up based on footage captured by the drones. Now, they might not have known that's what the sessions have been drawn up on, but they
Yeah.
have benefited from the drone footage.
You can still be given information and then not know where it came from.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, as a player, to be honest, you're probably not going to ask. You're going to trust your coach. So they've benefited from that. So that is why it's a punishment. And if we get into the whole, is this unfair to the players? Now, in many, many ways, yes, it is. Because the players are innocent parties in this. Now, the sad thing about football is whenever there is misdoing higher up the chain, whether it's coaches, whether it's owners, whether it's just administrators making a mistake, like not registering a player properly, the ones that are punished the most are the players and the supporters. At club level, if there's a points deduction for whatever reason, ineligible players, financial mismanagement, it costs the team points, which could see them relegated, could stop them getting promoted. So it costs players win bonuses. It might see them ruled out of a chance to be in cup competitions and all this stuff as well. So, like, even at international level, Indonesia got banned because of government interference. So that wasn't the players' fault, but the players are the ones that ultimately get punished, Zach.
I think when you're talking about administrators making mistakes, if you don't remember the terms of a player's contract and what would automatically extend it, you can then cost your club hundreds of thousands of dollars that you did not intend to spend.
I shouldn't have come to you first. Hard. I mean, it is unfair for the players, but it is always the players that kind of get punished. And it's like there's no way to punish Canada for cheating and breaking the law without the players being affected.
Yeah, there's not so much that FIFA and they can do as punishment. You can fine them, you can suspend the coaches, but it comes down to games and to send a message. That's really the greatest tool they have, is at the tournament to do that. And obviously it impacts the players. We saw them kind of playing angrily, upset, and then releasing all that emotion at the end of the game. So yeah, there's not a lot they can do right now. Maybe going forward, depending on how the investigation goes, then you can maybe do further sanctions against the association. But now, as we're in the tournament, that's what the option was. And so, Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I look, life's not fair, and there's lots of things consequences that people have to deal with when someone else has made an error or shown poor judgment or acted criminally or whatever. I mean, that's part of life. And I think in a team sport like this, when a coaches or a group of coaches or analysts do something so contrary to the rules, it's going to impact the team, and the consequences are going to impact the team. Again, I'll give you another Formula One reference, right? This weekend of the Grand Prix, the winner of the race, they weigh his car at the end, and it's 1.5 kilograms or whatever below weight, and he loses his title. And in the end, the team says, "We made an error. It's our error. We won't appeal, whatever." That's team sports. That's how they work.
And it's him that's punished for something that wasn't his fault.
He is majorly punished after having the best performance of his entire life, literally.
I've seen other folk try to use the example, well, if a business owner did something, the employees wouldn't be made to suffer. But ultimately they would, because if he's done something illegal, folk would maybe not use the business, or the business closes down and then the employees are the ones that suffer. It's just the nature of this kind of stuff. And if you don't do points deductions, if you don't send the message, teams will be like, well, we'll get off scot-free. The coach might be the one to suffer, but we're not going to get damaged in the competition. So you have to hit them where it really hurts.
Yeah.
In the same way we talked about with who was it now? Oh no, you go back to what you were talking about before, Michael, with the racist or homophobic
Hmm.
chants or whatever happening in stadiums, and what do you do? Again, it could become a situation where then you always are going to have a scapegoat that you blame on the coaching staff for something that's wrong, because then they're just going to get punished, and it's not going to hurt the group, right? It's going to become a new defense mechanism within team sport, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, the group suffers because of the actions of a few.
Well, yeah,
It
like, well, talking of homophobic chants, like the whole Mexican situation, which is not getting dealt with as strongly by FIFA as it should. And I agree with the people that say FIFA aren't acting against racism and homophobia, because they're not. But you can't just say, oh, well, because they're not doing that, it's okay to let this go.
Yeah.
But it's like, if Mexico eventually do get punished by forfeiting a game or whatever because of what the fans have done, again, it's not the players' fault, but they would be the ones that would be punished. They could get kicked out of a tournament. They could get points deducted. So it's just how football works. Now, the other thing in all of this, and I was going to mention this anyway, but I see KJ mentioned it tonight on One Soccer as well, but I'm going on a slightly different road with it. The reaction to the media, Har. Now, there's been some stupid things said in the media. Now, Shireen Ahmed, who I think we've all got a lot of time for, and she's a trailblazer for Muslim women and women
She's
in
awesome.
general, and she's awesome. But she said something stupid, that this is worse than the whole Ben Johnson doping scandal. And it isn't. It's like, it's definitely not. And I don't know if she's walked those comments back or whatever, but she was getting absolutely crucified for those. And I think in part, race and sex probably came into a lot of the abuse that she was getting. But it was a stupid comment. But she is awesome. Rick Westhead has been getting so much abuse for doing his job. Now, I've been critical of some of Rick Westhead's reporting in the last year or so as well, because he does go for the drama and doesn't really talk about the good side of things. And sometimes it's not as balanced, but his job is an investigative reporter. He's digging into this. He's reporting the news. Like you went to journalism school, and it was news that you kind of focused on. At no point when you were at school would they have said to you, if you've got a story that is very important, you bury it because it might be damaging. If it's that big a story, you have to go with it. You have to run it.
It's investigating reporting. The
Hmm.
the name says it. Investigate and report. You know, people are kind of asking him to maybe bury the story, or because he's Canadian, he shouldn't be writing negative stories about Canada soccer. That's the story. You follow the story where the story goes, and you report on it. You get sources. You do the work. You verify. You run through legal. You do a lot of different things before it goes to publication. So to say that Rick's doing this out of spite, or he hates Canada or Canada soccer, it's ridiculous. It's his job, and if I had the scoops and the sources, I would run the same story too. I'm not Rick Westhead, but I am a journalist. I went to J school, as you mentioned. That's what you do. You get into the business because you like to tell stories, you like to investigate and report, ask questions, get scoops and sources. So I commend him for doing a wonderful job. Obviously, he got a lot of threats and a lot of hate, but it
Yeah.
comes with the job. So yeah, I think he did a great job. And I think people that are criticizing him, they're out to lunch and they've never really thought about what it's like to be in his position. So I don't have time for those kind of people.
And the other thing that's brought up a lot in this, Zach. Now, I'm a new Canadian. I may have mentioned it on the show, but so much was made about, oh, this is against Canadian values and ideals, and oh, this isn't the Canadian way. And I think too much was made of that in the early going of this, because this is commonplace around the world. Drone use is used all over. I was telling her this. I had a chat with a coach that said drones are used at all levels of football, and it's rife, it's commonplace, and it's known. And of course, all this stuff's come out since about spying on America and various other incidents that may be proved under John Herdman's regime and stuff as well. And John Herdman picked his words very carefully the other day when he said, I haven't used a drone. To my knowledge, no drones were used at any World Cup or Olympics. Didn't talk about qualifiers, Nations League, friendlies, all the other stuff. So he's very,
Exactly.
very
Very
clever there.
smooth.
Yeah. But John's a smooth operator,
Yeah, he is.
especially when he's operating a drone. But it's this whole, it's against the Canadian way of life. That pissed me off so much because the guy was doing his job. And it's a job that is common in football, and it's not a nice thing to spy on your opponents. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, Zach, but it did seem very over the top, the Canadian rah, rah, rah of all this.
Okay, well, you said a few things there. Number one,
Yeah, I kind of went off on loads of different tangents. Sorry.
I can't remember the first point that I wanted to disagree with. The whole Canadian values thing, though, Michael. I think what people were. Oh, we'll come back to Rick West said. The whole Canadian values part of the conversation, Michael, is I think Canada in general prides itself as not being a country of cheaters when it comes to sports. Obviously, yeah, there are examples. Ben Johnson, whatever. There's other examples. But I think that Canadians, whether it's true or not, we think of ourselves as people of integrity and people who follow the rules and people in things like the Olympics, which are supposed to be lauded as this, like, haven of goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That we are up there with the best of the best in terms of our ethics. So I understand that, even though yes, it's probably not true, or there are moments in history that show us it's not true. We're not perfect, holistically. However, that is still a value. So I understand some people are like, look, this is the cheating is un-Canadian, right? Now, the people doing the droning and whatever, that's a different conversation. I want to come back to Rick Westhead, because Rick Westhead, I think, in one sense, I agree with you guys. Okay, he's doing his job. Yeah, his job is investigative reporting. Not as much in this case as in his previous articles about other stuff about Canadian football. This case, I feel it's more. I don't have much as really an axe to grind with him. The other stuff, I think, as I said before in the show, Michael, I do have an axe to grind.
Yeah,
because
I have as well.
He has gone after Canadian football in a way that where he's doing his job in the one sense, sort of investigative reporting, but he's telling only a part of the story, and he's being paid to do it by an organization that, in my opinion, is a part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's whether you call it a conflict of interest or some type of bias or whatever. It's some of his reporting on some of the other things in Canadian football. To me, it's been hard. It's been more difficult to take. This is a bit of a different kettle of fish, and I think that what he's doing is probably helpful. And in the end, as much as it has exposed other elements of all of this, I think it's probably more, in one sense, more Canadian of him, and will help us to get to the root of these problems and figure this stuff out. I think will help us get to the root of the problems and figure this stuff out quicker because he's done his job in the way he has. It'll be maybe more painful, and the wound is maybe deeper than we think, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is a little bit different than some of that other stuff where it's really hard for me to take some of the things that he said in the past.
One of the other things that came out tonight on One Soccer, Gareth Wheeler and Christian Jack were talking, and it was revealed that Canadian staff had requested to take a drone to the Olympics, and the Canadian Olympic Committee told them no, but they took it anyway, Now, it's either just sheer stupidity, or there's an arrogance, or we'll do what we want. But I mean, holy shit. You're told no, And then all this happens.
Yeah, they probably didn't think all of this would happen, but as we talked about earlier, you cannot bring a drone into France at the Olympics. There are no drone flying areas throughout the country. So for them to bring it, even after the CLC says no, if that report is true, and I presume Wheeler knows what he's talking about, that's, that says that they did it anyways, or that they, just didn't care. So to
Mhm.
say that, didn't direct any individuals, I mean, come on. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
I know this sounds like a flippant question, but it is to me, it's kind of a pertinent one. Did they bring the drone with them? In which case, how was it maybe not found in luggage and stuff? Did they buy it in France? How was this all planned from the start? Which you have to think it was. But I, let, let's just round this talk off because I know it's been over an hour of us talking about this, but it is the main soccer point of this. Two last things, Har. First one, what does this mean for Bev Priestman? Now, she issued a statement today through her lawyers, the timing of which, just before the game, I did not think was great. It was very, very weird to put that out just hours before the game. But she's going to appeal her 1 year ban. So she's banned from all soccer activities. There's no way she's going to be coming back to coach the Canadian women's national team. I mean, how tarnished is she by this? I could see her going back into club football when the ban's lifted, maybe back to England, maybe just a lower key club as well, because they're not going to care too much over there for whatever club she goes to. It's hard to see her having a future, an immediate future in the international game.
Yeah, I don't think she can coach the women's national team again. I don't, that locker room. I don't think they're ready to forgive her. I don't think they're ready to move on. They're still living in the moment, having to deal with everything and the fallout. So we'll see how the suspension goes. As we know, there's still more investigations to go, and there's kind of some legal matters as well. As you mentioned, that statement 2 hours before the kickoff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's terrible timing. Why are you doing that? Do it on Monday because it takes away from the team. And obviously, they went out there and put on a hell of a performance to get that win. So, there wasn't a lot of talk about Bev's statement, but that timing was quite poor. And from the reaction that I've seen online regarding the statement, I think a lot of people don't have time for that, or they're like, no, we're focusing our energy on the team as we should have been doing. So I don't know where Bev's going to end up coaching or what she's going to do, if they're going to stay in Vancouver and Canada. I know they love Vancouver. I know they love living in Canada very much so. So
Well,
yeah, it's
Emma's
awful.
so involved
But
with the
yeah, all of it.
Whitecaps as
Yeah.
well. It's like
Yeah.
that's her job now. I mean, Zach, the timing was horrible, as we've said. I've had dealings with Bev, chatted to her a lot at League One games, chatted to Emma a lot at League One games. She's always had time to chat to me. She's always been nice, and I like her as a person. It's just hard to see her road back now, especially at the international level. And surely it's just she wants to go somewhere where there's not a lot of publicity on the team and she can just get back into football, maybe at club level, and rebuild her reputation.
This is a difficult one. I I think you're probably have a better read on this than I do, Michael, in terms of like, oh, she'll go places where no one will care about this. I just feel like in our globalized world, everything is so much smaller and people do care about what you've done elsewhere. And this could really, really, really hurt her, which is probably in part related to her what action she may take
Hmm.
to clear her name, less sully her name, whatever,
Well, I guess
to
also
clarify.
any future punishment as well is going to factor into this because we don't know what could even be coming down the line as well.
Yeah, well, as these multiple investigations continue, and as they may be trying to dig into past tournaments, and yeah, it could get even worse. But I I don't see it being as easier as I think maybe you guys do for her to get back into coaching. I think this is yeah, obviously she's banned for a year. Maybe she'll appeal, whatever. But I think this is I think she might be done. Like this to me could be something so serious that she could be done. Again, I might be out to lunch, but that's how I feel at this moment.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be easy either. I just think it'll be a long process. It could take years. It could take a lot of time. I mean, you really all you have to do is a quick Google search, and you can see
Mhm.
Bev Pressman's name. It's going to be the first thing that comes up. I just wanted to say that I've always had enjoyable experiences dealing with Bev. I think she's a great person. Talking to her, talking tactics, football wise. Obviously, a huge, massive mistake. A lot of problems with the drone scandal. So I would like to say that I think over the years talking to Bev, yeah, I've enjoyed that. But obviously, I don't think she'll be coaching for quite a long time. Zach?
I haven't had the interactions you guys have had with her, so I can't say anything on a personal level. What I will say is that and Michael, I think I talked to you about this. There have been other people who've been reporting though that there was already discord within the team over her approach or her leadership or whatever, which has again been another kind of rallying cry for I think the players in all this. So, and I don't think sorry. My understanding is as what I've heard is that that's not related. That has nothing to do with drones. That has to do
No,
with
it's
her.
yeah. But then
But
that's
again,
it's like who runs the team? Is it the coach? Is it the players? It's like that's where this dynamic in the women's national team's always been a little bit. The,
yeah,
the players have a lot of power.
yeah. And
Yeah.
you and I talked about those different dynamics and what's at play and even
And the
outside.
public perception as well, because let's be honest, the Canadian women's national team are cherished in Canada.
Yeah,
They've been the darlings of the Olympics for years now, and that gold medal was the epitome on it. I mean, does this tarnish that gold medal at all? As things currently stand, we obviously don't know what might come down the line. Folk are really worried it's going to get stripped, the gold medal, which I think is complete bollocks.
Yeah.
There's no tangible proof. There's some text messages, there's hearsay. Nothing's going to happen with that. Folk can be relaxed, put their mind to bed unless something else comes out.
yeah. That's what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
don't think they're going to take their gold medal away. Like, you would need a mounting amount of evidence to show kind of any trickery or drone activity in Japan. And I think that's not going to happen. We saw Stephanie Lebe's tweet because
Oh
obviously
yeah,
people were,
I was going to mention that.
yeah,
That was disgraceful. That person tried to say, I've looked at how she saved penalties, and it makes you wonder. It's penalties. You study penalty takers. You don't need a bloody drone to see what way a penalty's going to go because penalty takers go different ways. Oh man, I've really felt for Steph for that. That was a stretch and a reach and a half.
For the players' sake, I hope they don't lose their gold medals. However, I think the the burden of proof is not as high as you guys are saying. I don't think they need physical evidence of them filming. I think if they find messages or emails or whatever that talk about what happened, or like it seems like Rick Westhead has discovered with the men's team, they find someone within the camp from 2021 who says, "Yeah, this happened," or "Yes, I did it," or "Yes, we did it," or "It took place." They could, I think, conceivably be in a considerable amount of trouble.
It,
Obviously, I don't want that. I don't hope for
no,
that.
I'll tell you this now. If someone comes forward and says, yeah, I filmed at the Tokyo Olympics and they lose the medal because of that person coming forward, that
yeah,
person
no.
needs to leave Canada.
And if Rick Westhead reports that, good luck leaving your house.
Yeah. And that's not us making any threats. That's just
No, no, that's
sadly
the
the
crazy
reality.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because anyone and they might say, I'm doing the right thing. Just be aware of what you may be opening up if
I
that
don't know,
happens.
like who would have emails or texts from like 3 or 4 years ago?
I don't know, but folks, these texts seem to be appearing from all these mysterious sources, and
The
Don't.
cloud.
But that's the thing. Don't the communications companies have all
well, I
the
guess you can access stuff.
yeah? What's it called? The
The
I
cloud.
forget. No, it's not just the cloud. It's
I don't
the
know.
metadata of your phone and whatever. Like this is all I think accessible to people, right? Like we think it's not very big brothery, but I think
That's why you gotta delete it. No
Oh,
paper.
but if a court comes to you and says, "Give us these files," they might,
No,
they
you say
might have to.
say what?
I'm not a lawyer.
no.
You say what files? I see no files. There's no
Yeah.
files. No files.
It's such a mess. And just to round it up, it's like, what does this mean for Canada soccer now? No one knows.
I just want to say, like, good luck getting a team to come to Canada to play a friendly. Like, oh, we'll come and play you as long as you turn your drones off. Like,
Yeah.
good luck.
Well, that's the thing. There's going to be all these jokes now. The players are going to get it when they go back to their clubs. They're going to be forever tarnished by this, whether they knew anything about it or not. It's not even going to factor into it. They've got this cloud hanging over them, and whether it had any part to play in 2021, that cloud's going to be there, and it's just so sad. And for Canada soccer, like Kevin Blue, dabba dee dabba 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 dee
No,
dabba
no, no,
Kevin Blue, dabba dee dabba.
no.
Kevin, good old Kev.
Yeah.
He's been excellent since he's come in. He's been a breath of fresh air for Canada soccer. He is
Still
going
owes
to
me
clean
an interview.
house.
I've not forgotten.
Yeah, I know. He said he's open to talk to anyone. Maybe not so much now. And Jesse Marsch as well.
Well, that was the one thing about the ESPN article.
Yeah.
That was in all of this. It's hard with all the things we've heard. It's hard not to believe that this practice did not come into the Canadian squads until John Herdman was involved. Right? I'm not making allegation. I'm just saying based on the things that have been reported or talked about, it sounds like this.
Two English coaches. Are we saying they're dishonest?
No. But what I'm saying is, to me, the issues lie within the Herdman and Priestman eras of men and women's football.
Mm-hmm.
That ESPN article made a claim that this happened with the Canadian men's team at the Copa.
Yes.
Which that was, I was just like, oh no, like, can we not just leave the current?
But yeah, like Jesse Marsch apparently though said, this is not something that I condone. It's not the way I want to operate business, and he shut it down. So there's at least that, Zach. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't get proved that anything happened at Copa. The dominoes fall even more because we were all on such a high from Copa. Canada football was just buzzing. It was the defense of the gold medal. And now, a couple of weeks later, look where we are.
I wanted to say that in terms of getting sponsors and getting companies on board for both the men's and women's national team, I mean, would this not hurt Canada soccer in regards? Are you going to want to donate and put money behind drone soccer, whatever?
Yeah.
And we saw the Minister of Sport put out a statement taking funding away
Oh, yes. I forgot about that. And there's so many
Joey,
things
Jasmine,
that's
and
happened.
Beth. So
I missed that.
Was that statement today? Yeah, that was today. Yeah.
Was that a statement though, not in regards to money going towards those individuals?
Yeah.
Yeah,
three of them. Yeah.
But it's the start of money getting taken away from the game at a time when the game desperately needs money put into it.
In terms of 2026, I don't see Canada getting pulled, or that's not going to get impacted. I would be shocked.
No.
Unless a lot more and a lot worse things come out.
Yeah, I still think as a host they won't get pulled from 2026.
No, you got Big Victor over there. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, you're spying on America, and America don't report it, which, to their credit, they didn't report it. I would have reported it.
Well, it's funny, though, that they're willing to say it now.
They're willing to say, we didn't report it, but we knew about it.
No, the thing about Jesse Marsch is, as much as, presumably, as the coach, he would have control over everything, and so you would assume that there's not rogue people in his staff who were doing droning.
But that was the whole thing with Bev when it came out. Because when Bev said, I didn't know anything about it, it was one of two things. She wasn't telling the truth, or she had no control of her staff. And either was damning.
That's what Claire Russ did.
Yeah. And I mean, hopefully Jesse's unaffected by this. Let's draw a line under it for now. I have a horrible feeling that in a week's time, there's going to be some more stuff to talk about. Let's just hope it's positive stuff and it's Canada advancing through the knockout stages. We'll see how that goes. We're not going to turn our attention fully away, though, from Canadian national teams, because in the next part, we're going to bring you our feature interview for the show with a man that was at Copa with the Canadian men's national team. He plays for the Whitecaps. His name is Ali Ahmed. Had a very good 20-minute chat with Ali this week, and we'll be back with that after the first of 2 songs this episode from our album of the month.
Hi, I'm Ali Ahmed. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, it's our penultimate song from our album of the month here at AFTN, Cork Band, the Frank and Walters. Their self-titled first album, if you want to call it. It was a collection of their first 3 12-inch EPs. The self-titled affair has been our album of the month, and that is one of the songs from it, The World Carries On. And while for many, with the Canadian women's soccer drone scandal, the world has come crashing to a shuddering halt, it does go on elsewhere at the Olympics. And of course, the men coming off a very solid display at Copa America this summer, finishing 4th overall. And the only current Vancouver Whitecap that was on that Copa America roster was 23-year-old midfielder Ali Ahmed, making his second appearance at a tournament for Canada, having played at the Gold Cup with the Red and White last year. And you have to say, Ali gave a very good account of himself at that tournament and will most certainly have put himself in the shop window for a few teams maybe looking to acquire his services down the line. For now, he's a Vancouver Whitecap, his 3rd season playing on the MLS team. His first 2 appearances came in 2022 as a MLS Next Pro call-up. Last year, he'd signed his first team deal, 22 appearances, 2 goals and 2 assists. This year, after starting the year off, having undergone hernia surgery in the end of January, kind of derailing his pre-season a little bit, he's gone on to make 18 appearances overall, 12 of those starts, 1 goal and 1 assist. And I got a chance to sit down with Ali this week just to chat about his whole Copa American experiences, the season so far with the Whitecaps, and a lot more besides. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, and enjoy our feature interview this episode with Whitecaps midfielder Ali Ahmed. So, Ali, welcome back to the show. It's been a little bit of time since we spoke to you, but always a pleasure catching up.
Always, man. Always a pleasure talking with you and being on the show. I think maybe the last time was WFC 2, and you can't forget the people who was there,
Yeah,
right?
I think I spoke to you last year after the Gold Cup, but I think that might have been
Oh,
the last time that we had you on the show. I mean, obviously this
okay.
year's been like a whirlwind for you just in general, but you certainly seem to be enjoying your football right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a wonderful time. The weather is beautiful. You know, uh, just back from Copa. Back with the team and the guys. So, hopefully use that energy and confidence from Copa to keep going over here.
Cool. I mean, we'll talk Copa, but I want to start. I want to take you right the way back to the start of the year because we obviously haven't spoken since you had your operation for the sports hernia back in January. I
Yeah.
mean, at that time, how how did that kind of play in your mind? Because it's obviously in some ways it's the worst time to get an injury because it's right in pre-season and you're wanting to make your
Mhm.
mark on the team. But then at other times it's the best way to get it because you can recover quickly and then you've got the whole season ahead of you.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it was a bit of a last minute decision with the surgery. Honestly, I didn't know I needed surgery until one training. I started hearing that surgery might be the best option, and because I got a PRP injection before, like right before we went to Marbella, and it wasn't really doing anything, and the pain was still pretty nasty, pretty sharp, uh, and it was definitely something that I did not want to have to play with another year, So I was just trying to figure out how to rehab, and thankfully the surgery was the biggest positive, I think. I came out of there. It took 5 weeks, 6 weeks to get back, but obviously there's still a little pain there. And then, I'd say maybe until the 2 month mark where you feel like, damn, it's really going away. So, honestly, the surgery was very, very helpful, man. Even though I was a bit hesitant, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I heard the S word surgery, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if, I don't want to miss that much time. But, looking back at it now, it was a great decision.
Yeah, definitely the best thing. And that was the same thing Ranko went through as well, wasn't it, before?
Yeah, exactly. It was. Yeah, it was. And thankfully for him, he was able to tackle it in the off season. So, he didn't really miss much. Even me, I don't even think I missed much. I was available for off the bench for the
Yeah.
first few games. So,
Yeah, like you came back way sooner, I think, than anyone
yeah, I
expected.
think, and nobody expected me to come back in 4.5 weeks. That's really quick. But I think, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of rushing it. I was just so eager and anxious to get the season going, and I didn't want to miss anything. So, maybe I could have took my time, a little more time, but I'm all good now. So definitely
Okay.
didn't think I needed to.
Well, we'll talk a little Whitecaps at the end. I want to talk Copa, and I know you did the scrum with people. I'll try and not repeat stuff that you were already asked, but obviously it's hard not to. But you've had a couple of weeks now since the tournament's over. How
Mhm.
do you look back at your whole experience there?
It was a beautiful time, man. Very beautiful time. It's always an honor to represent your country, you know, in some sort of fashion, try to give back. And, with all the support, the fans and everybody tuned in, in such a huge, huge soccer tournament, historic tournament. And I think doing as well as we performed, at least, I think we were pushing to win the thing, but I think we definitely took a huge step as a soccer nation, to prove to people that we're a country that can play, and even for ourselves, honestly, I don't think we've had games of this magnitude in the last time I can remember. So,
Mm.
showing to ourselves most importantly that we belong and we can we can be competing against the best of the best. It will be another step. The next step will be showing everybody and ourselves that teams can compete with us, not vice versa.
Yeah, it's a
Just getting that
very,
confidence.
very exciting time for Canadian football right now. I mean, you had games at the Gold Cup last year. You had the 4 games there, and with all respect to the Gold Cup, Copa's a whole different thing. It's different kind of crowds. It's different atmospheres with the fans. It's all the antics that's going on the pitch, which I know you get some off in CONCACAF, but it just felt absolutely different level with Copa.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything about it, man. Just it just feels like there's so much on the line, each game, the anticipation, especially when we advanced and then in the knockout rounds, you feel like you're playing with your life on the line because I think you see the way some of these teams compete and they play like it's really their last game. So, I think Jesse that's probably one of the biggest things he was trying to, instill in us that you got to play with some nastiness. So,
Mm.
but yeah, the tournament at Copa America, man, honestly, you really feel the magnitude of each game and honestly, as a player, you love that. You love that. You love to play in a game where 80,000 fans, millions and millions of fans, and people are tuned in. You love to play in those type of games. Those are the games you wake up for.
And you only seem to play for Canada at tournaments. It's like they don't seem to cap you for anything else apart from tournaments.
Is that true? Actually, yeah, I think that was my third camp. I think I was there with the Nation Leagues as well. Obviously didn't play though, but
Yeah.
um, the Gold Cup was a great way to introduce me into the international stage and then the Copa was just different, man. Just different. But hopefully that can change and we got some friendlies and some games coming up and hopefully that will change.
The, when you weren't in the squads for those games against the Netherlands and France, like, did you know that was the plan to not play in those and you'd be in the Copa squad, or did you feel your chance had gone?
No, I didn't think my chances were gone for Copa because I spoke to Jesse before the games and he told me that I still have a chance and that there are a few other players. I'm amongst a few other players who, have a good chance at coming into Copa. But I would say, I didn't know, whether I was gonna go to Copa or not. But I know I had a game, like 1 or 2 games before the friendlies, and I just try to do what I can control. You know what I mean, and leave the rest in God's hands. So honestly. Uh, I wasn't, I didn't know if I was gonna go or not, but I'm super thankful I went. It's unfortunate that I didn't get to get those 2 friendlies in Holland and France. 2 big teams, but I got a good Copa run, so
Yeah.
still fortunate.
And yet you're ticking off some world-class players to have been on the pitch and played against. I mean, I know you didn't get to play against Messi at BC Place with
hmm
the Whitecaps, but
hmm
when you were growing up, could you imagine that you would be on the same pitch as Messi?
I imagine in my dreams, yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, nah, man, I didn't. But it's super surreal that I got that experience, to play against probably one of the best to ever play. And it was a dream come true, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many players that I think I would get starstruck by, but if I was like on the pitch with him, it would just throw you off your game. And I think that's what the top players have as an advantage. How do you
Hmm.
prepare in your mind? But like when you're playing against top players, not just Messi, but like obviously Uruguay had top players,
Hmm.
Argentina's had top players. It's like, how do you prepare for games like that? Is it just as normal, or do you have to kind of do anything different?
If I'm being honest, like, once the whistle goes, um, maybe before the games you're thinking about it a bit more, you're having little jokes with your guys and stuff like that, and you're a little eager and excited, more excited, I would say, to be competing against, big players and big names and big countries. You're more excited and, for the opportunity to test yourself, against the best and see where you're at and just competing with the
Mhm.
best of the best is something I love. I just love competing and going toe to toe uh with the best, and but at the same time, once that whistle goes, if I'm being real honest, you're just super locked in, and you're not really too focused on who's in front of you, more so your game. But sometimes you gotta be aware, when you're studying the game. All right, like when we were playing Inter Miami, maybe playing against Jordi Alba, when I'm going 1v1, I see he's smart because he knows he's a little older, so sometimes I'm aware, okay, I'm going against Jordi and he's slower or he can't get there quicker, stuff like that. But
Mm.
you're not really like starstruck or anything that you're in front of, you're going against Jordi Alba. You're just playing your game and trying to do what you have to do to help the team. So yeah, I would say once the whistle goes, you're locked in, your adrenaline's in, and you don't really care who's in front of you. But for Messi, I would say is I was not really like, damn, that's Messi, but more like, oh yeah, that's Messi. I gotta keep my eye on him more than usual. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that more than a regular player.
You don't want to kick him and injure him, otherwise your life's hell on social media afterwards as well. So
And that too, exactly.
yeah, I think
You don't want no Argentina fans in your comments or
no.
trying to kill you for playing a soccer game against
Yeah.
someone.
I mean the passion's huge. I know you didn't get Messi's jersey, but did you swap jerseys with anyone in any of the games?
No, honestly, I didn't. Like, originally I didn't think I was even gonna ask for Messi's jersey, but like after the whistle, I'm just like, oh shit, Messi's right there. I'm
Hey,
gonna shake his hand. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right, you know what? Might as well ask for his jersey. Why not? You know
If
what
you
I
don't
mean? Why
ask,
not?
you don't get.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, let me ask. And then when he said no, I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But after I got the no from Messi, I kind of just said, we're gonna head back to the locker room with empty
Yeah.
hands. So didn't ask
It's
anybody else.
it's nice though to have your own jerseys, like for family and pass on if you have
Yeah,
kids in the future and stuff. It's like that's
yeah,
to me more special than someone else's jersey.
yeah,
You wore it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly,
Last Canada thing.
exactly.
Obviously, Jesse
Mhm.
Marsch has taken over now, and you had experience under John, and I've known John for many years. I don't know Jesse well at all. I remember him from his time in MLS at Montreal. I didn't really
Mhm.
speak to him then. I've had a couple of chats with him on media calls. He seems very focused. Like he seems like a coach that doesn't suffer fools gladly, but he also seems like a coach that you would go to war for, you'd run through a wall for just with what he says.
Yeah, for sure. I think he knows how to get the players going. He's really, really intense. Trainings are intensive. Uh, and he brings, I think he brought a whole different side of a lot of us on the field, that just to play with that hungriness, that nastiness a little bit, and just that intensity to keep going keep going and pushing your body and your mind to your max, and I think it showed on the field and what we did, in our first few weeks together. I think we can be proud of ourselves, but keep on improving in some areas for sure. But like, yeah, I definitely think he brings a different type of energy to the group.
Just to finish up with just a couple of Whitecaps things, it's obviously been a great season for the club so far, right in the mix of pushing for top four, maybe even a lot higher than that. If we can sort our home form out, I think
Mhm.
we're definitely a top four side.
For
How do
sure.
you look back at the Whitecaps season so far?
I think we're on pace I think one of our goals is home field advantage in the playoffs because we know what that can do for us and down the line in the playoffs. I think we really wanted that last year. We finished off hot, really hot, but the slow start killed us, and we just missed out. We just missed out on the top four. So, I think this year we got off to a good start. Hit a little bit of a tough road, which is normal, I think.
Mm.
But I think, the really elite teams get out of those holes quick and get back on the right foot. So I think that's what we're doing, and we're pushing for top four. We want home field, and honestly, to really do damage in the playoffs, and I think our next step, we already made the playoffs last year and previous years and at first round exits, and that's not what we're aiming for. Nothing close to what we're aiming for, in all seriousness. And we all believe that, we can take a different a next step from last year and the previous years. So we really got to go far in the playoffs. So we really got to look at, that MLS Cup and believe that we can bring this home. And so we just got to keep performing now, finish the season strong, get home field, and have our mind on series by series.
The home form, it's been so weird because it's 16 points dropped at home. And it's
Mhm.
not that the team's played badly at home, it's just the results haven't come. Like as players, do you talk about that? Do you know why the results aren't happening at BC Place?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we know about and we talk about sometimes. Honestly, I think it's weird because we're usually you know a very tough team to beat at home. We usually really never drop points at home. So honestly, not sure what's going wrong exactly this year. Maybe because we're not coming out with the same energy and just expecting that we're at home, so we're gonna win them automatically. But um, it's something that's got to change for sure because we can't have teams come to Vancouver and beating us on home soil, and especially with our fans and coming out this year, got to give them got to send them home, with 3 points. So definitely, hopefully, can change that.
Fafa Pico speaks very highly of you and says that he's not saying he's a mentor to you, but he's there for you if you want any advice.
Mhm.
Have you picked his brains? Have you enjoyed learning from a guy that plays a very similar kind of style and
Mhm.
position to you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, I agree with him. He can definitely take that mentor title for me. He's a guy who, man, he's seen it all. He speaks 20 different languages. He's one of the funniest guys I know. And then obviously I don't, you guys see it what he does on the field, right? You guys
Yeah.
see the impact he's been having for us, and just having a little similar style with him on the field. So definitely stuff I can pick up from him on and off the field, honestly. So definitely go to him for on and off the field. I think highly of him on and off the field. Great guy, even better player. So definitely, super grateful to have him here, and hopefully we can continue helping this club and picking up some. Next thing is the Canadian Championship. Hopefully we can win that together, and then maybe the MLS Cup together as well. So I'm thankful he's here. That's my guy. Papa's my guy for real.
And is he going to get you involved in some music?
I might have to hop on a track with him. I might have to hop on a track with him.
That would be great.
You guys might see Fafa Peacock X Ali soon.
Hey, I'd like that. Last thing, this is going to go out after the Wrexham game on Saturday. Now, I don't watch the show, not because I don't want to. I don't have Disney Plus or FX, so I've never actually seen it. But do you watch the show? Are you excited by this? You're bound to be in the documentary at some point.
Honestly, I haven't watched the show, but I've heard about it. Obviously, I'm pretty sure everybody hears about it.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched it. But still, definitely excited to play against them. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun for sure. Be a part of their documentary. Maybe I might watch now.
Yeah.
That I'm a part of it. But
I'll find that episode for sure.
BC plays at Grass.
Oh yeah, you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, so pre-World Cup, let's see how the field will be.
Yeah, fingers crossed it's good. Anyway, absolute pleasure chatting to you, Ali, as always. And good luck for the rest of the season, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you always.
Great stuff from Ali Ahmed there as always. Really always enjoyed catching up with Ali. First got to know him during his WFC 2 days, and he'd had an injury and we chatted regularly at the games. Always a pleasure to chat to him. And he's going to be a key piece for the Whitecaps now down the stretch. Once MLS gets back underway at the end of August, 10 league games to go. And he's certainly going to have a big impact and a part to play in those. And we're going to continue the Whitecaps chat now because they were in action this weekend. It wasn't a league game. It wasn't a cup game. The circus, the media circus, came to town as Hollywood, Wrexham A.F.C. visited BC Place with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney in tow. And we'll chat about that match and bring you some fun audio from both teams as well after this.
Hey, I'm Bilal Halbouni, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Mr. Soft, turn around and force the world to watch the things you're going through. Oh, Mr. Soft, believe everything they tell you and be damned if they'll thank you. You paint everything so cruel, coming on like Mr. Cool. Paint your face and shut the gate, no one's coming home till late. Ooh-la, cha. Don't you know, life gets tedious enough without this extra grudge to bear. You so slow, shift your ideas, make your mind up in a jiffy, let's be fair. We'll all be taken off tonight. Turn off your eyes and shut the lights. Oh, you're the most, you're so unreal. We'd all be dead without your spiel. Ooh-la, take it.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. Based out of Surrey, visit Recovery Family Law for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, we've taken you all the way back to 1974, and the band Cockney Rebel, with the very distinctive vocal style of frontman Steve Harley. That's the second single released from their second studio album, the Psychomodo. That was Mr. Soft. Two fun facts about that song. I actually have it on a compilation album that I got as a kid in the 1970s. And also, Mr. Soft is Zach's wife's little pet name for him at home.
Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael.
But this week in Whitecaps land, 50 years ago, it was the Whitecaps' final home game of their inaugural season on Sunday, August the 4th, 1974. Rochester Lancers were the visitors, needing to get a win to keep their wildcard hopes alive. 7,892 fans packed into Empire Stadium for this one to see a 2-2 draw played out over the 90 minutes, with Rochester coming away with a shootout victory. Whitecaps were pretty dominant in the first half of this one. They took the lead 6 minutes in when George McLean got his 5th goal of the season, finishing off a Victor Codea lob into the box. That was how it stayed until well into the second half. The Whitecaps were quite defensive in the second half, and it allowed Rochester to tie things up in the 58th minute when Rudolf Sacker fired home a scramble in the Whitecaps box. 10 minutes later, though, and the Whitecaps lead was restored. Bobby Lenarduzzi getting his 2nd goal of the season, heading home. Bobby had been named the Defender of the Year for the Whitecaps in the pre-game festivities. Rochester, though, tied it up 9 minutes later in the 77th minute. David Proctor making it 2-2. That sent the game into penalties. Rochester came away with the shootout win, and the Whitecaps finished their home season with a loss. It was a good day, though, for the fans. Beforehand, there was a lot of festivities. Brian Gant was named the team's Offensive Player of the Year, while Billy Stevenson was named the overall team MVP. The match was Fan Appreciation Day for the Caps, and they had a lot of activities for those in attendance. Before the game, there was a match between the visiting Edinburgh schoolboys from over in Scotland taking on Coquitlam's Bel Air Shamrocks. Then at half-time, it was a Canada-US ladies soccer game. Must have been a very short game for the half-time. There was also a $1,000 goal-scoring contest. Free white caps were given out. I like that idea. Whitecaps should follow suit for the last game of this season. And it was free admission for the first 3,000 kids to get into the stadium if they were accompanied by an adult. And there was a lot of prizes galore on offer, from 10-speed bikes to colour televisions and a lot more. But that was the Whitecaps' final home game of the 1974 season. They had one more game to go. The following weekend, the trip down the I-5 to take on Seattle. We'll cover that in next week's show. But that was This Week in Whitecaps Land, 1974. So from the past, right up to the present, because the circus came to town, which did feature in that song, Mr. Soft, a little bit. But yes, the media circus that follows Wrexham A.F.C. hit Vancouver this weekend. I think their official name appears to be Ryan Reynolds Wrexham. That is how I've seen it worded all over Canadian media. But it was a game, when it was first announced, I didn't really care about it. I mean, I like Wrexham. I've liked them before the documentary. Yes, I'm a football hipster, because they were a Welsh team in the English football pyramid, and how could you not cheer them on? Then they fell out of the league, and I so wanted them to get back into the Football League after all their financial issues they had, where they had to kind of be a phoenix club and come back, and boy, have they come back. But I tell you what, it was a game that I really warmed to, and I really started to come around to it. I kind of had an epiphany the other night, Har, where I thought, you know what? I'm just a grumpy old bastard.
It's
And
true.
if people want to go to this game and enjoy it for what it is, an entertainment event, who am I to knock them for that? I'm just going to embrace it. I got invited, as you did as well, but you didn't go, to the Men in Blazers event at the Hollywood Theatre
Yeah, because I
on
was
Thursday
writing about
night.
drones. That's why I couldn't go.
I got a free hat.
Good for you.
Stoke cold brew coffee. I'll put it on actually while we're recording this, but they're not sponsoring the show. They did sponsor Men in Blazers. We are open to sponsorship from Stoke cold brew coffee if they want to get in touch.
Is that my hat here or
Well, this
yours?
is my hat. I did grab a hat for Zach, and I grabbed one for Caitlin as well because
I wish I could.
there was no one in my row, so I got all the free hats.
I wish I could have joined you for that. If I could have, I would have loved to
You
have been
know, I
there.
could have got a +1, and I didn't invite you, but then it turned out you weren't here anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went along to that event, and I really enjoyed it. I will say the guy from Men in Blazers was a little bit bordering on the sycophantic with the guests, and it was all, "Oh, God bless you," and "Oh, we love you," and standing
Is
ovation.
that Roger Bennett?
Possibly a bald guy, bald English guy. I've never seen Men in Blazers, much like I've never seen the Welcome to Wrexham documentary. I
You
did
still
come
haven't watched it.
no, but I did come away from that event wanting to listen to Men in Blazers and watch the documentary. As soon as I've subscribed to Disney, which after the championship games in League One next weekend, I've got 3 weeks of no commentary and I'm planning on chilling, which Har would love that opportunity right now as well, because we were talking about that earlier. But yeah, I came away from the event really wanting to watch the documentary, enthused by the documentary, and really liking the Wrexham players. They're very amiable, they're very affable. They all came across as really great guys. Humphrey Carr, who we spoke to before when they did the press conference, and Phil Parkinson are great guys to talk to as well. So I was actually really excited, Har, for the game on Saturday. Over 34,000 fans turned out. And it was a very different crowd. Now, at the Men in Blazers event, I, without blowing my own trumpet, because I'm not double jointed, I looked around the venue and I didn't recognize one single person in the crowd. And I know a lot of folk in the local soccer community, and there was no Whitecaps fans that I recognized. There was no local soccer people that I recognized. I was a very older crowd. It was folk in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And it does feel, and you saw this, I think, at the game on Saturday, Har, Wrexham's captured this football loving audience that aren't necessarily football fans. And it's an interesting experience with them.
It was a very Wrexham-y crowd. It felt like Vancouver was the away team. Of course, they were invited, so they were the guests of Wrexham. But there were a lot of Wrexham shirts in the crowd. I went over to see my friend before the game. She was there watching, and she knew all the Wrexham players. Didn't know a single Whitecaps player. So it seems like the Wrexham fans. I don't know if they traveled up from the other two games in California, but it
Some
seemed like
did,
very
yeah.
Wrexham crowd. And then not having the Southsiders there, it felt like it was a library at times. It was
Yeah.
very quiet. So it was kind of weird when Wrexham would score and they would play the music, the goal horn, because this is the Whitecaps, and then they're cheering for the other team. So it was like a bizarro world game.
It was like that in the League's Cup last year because the Mexican side, I can't remember if it was Club America. It was Club America. They were the home team. So it was all their stuff that was getting played over the tannoy. But yeah, I mean, it felt very Welsh, Zach. They had the Welsh male voice choir doing the anthems at the start, which was that was the best part of the game. They
Yeah.
were magnificent. And I've always, like, whenever you listen to the Welsh national anthem, it's like, even if you're not Welsh, it's just so stirring. And there was a smell of sheep everywhere. I mean, it felt like you were in Wrexham.
Yeah.
It's the smell of sheep everywhere. No, I mean it was it was quite the occasion, and hopefully they did well enough to make it meaningful and all that. Yeah, it was a different kind of game. I was surprised at how many. I saw a number of people on my social media. I'm like, I've never seen these people at football before, and they're wearing Wrexham jerseys at BC Place. And I was like, what? was like, these people understand anything about football whatsoever. And like, yeah, I think you cannot doubt, and I think it was a key part of the strategy from Rob and Ryan to be able to story tell what they were doing. And that has captured people's imagination. So
Mhm.
I'm sure there were people there who are like, yeah, whatever, they're Welsh or they're from Wrexham or they've been fans of the team since who knows how long. But the way that they've gone about telling this story has been engaging for people, and they've embraced them in a meaningful way. I've told you before,
Mhm.
the documentary is very intoxicating.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and it's like from the little bits they were talking about in some clips that they showed at the Men in Blazes event, and I'd read stuff about this, but when you're actually hearing the folk talking about what this has done to the town of Wrexham,
oh, totally.
and it's totally transformed it. It was a very run-down town. I think everyone knew that. Like the Declan Swan song, it's the lyrics are true. Nobody invested a penny in the club. I always loved the racecourse ground, and it was always a ground I wanted to go to because it was a proper football ground. Now it's all changed because it's the standing bit, which was condemned and you couldn't go on it anyway, has been knocked down now. But it just had that feel about it. And like what this has done to the football team's great, but it's totally revitalized the town. There's bars and restaurants and shops just opening up throughout the town.
In terms of the game, I know you don't want to talk about the game a lot, but it was interesting because you had this one club that has these super like bigger than your mind can imagine ambitions, and then you had this
And
other
then you had
club who
Wrexham.
no, and then you had this other club who was like, hey, this is a mid-season friendly that essentially when you listen to Axel is like, hey, hopefully this is just good exposure for us,
Yeah.
doesn't cost us anything. Hopefully no one gets injured. That's going to be reflected in our squad. It was not that important. Whereas Wrexham, it was meaningful and important for them.
Well,
And
like they're in action next Saturday. Their season kicks off. So,
totally.
and
And you saw that in the play. You saw that you could tell that those players who were playing for Wrexham are fighting for a job, are fighting
yes,
for the place in the team, want to be in that first match squad. Know that there's like holes to fill with like Paul Mullins' injury and
well,
recovery
yeah,
and all
and
this.
it was some fringe players that started with their bigger guys on the bench. I
Yes.
mean, the biggest cheer of the afternoon came when Ollie Palmer came on. There was a big cry of Ollie, Ollie, Ollie around the stadium.
Yeah, which again, I won't say too much, but yeah, it was watching on TV. Yeah, it was
Well,
the atmosphere.
sitting at the stadium, Har and me were talking about it, and like you mentioned, this how the South Siders not being there. So the South Siders didn't have the regular section because it wasn't a Whitecaps home game. It's put on by a promoter, and I
Yeah.
think that was a failing. I think they should have made sure that if the Southsiders wanted to be there in their section, that they could have got tickets, and the whole atmosphere would have been different.
Yeah,
And that
well,
was
They
that
care
was an
about
own
money
goal
though.
by
They don't care.
TEG. Oh yeah, that's
Money.
true. They sold the tickets. Yeah.
well, okay, Michael, it's an own goal by TEG, but again, to say something critical of Axel and the Whitecaps, that's something they should have fought for, right? Like when you go
Yeah.
back and you go back and you look at the Crystal Palace match, there was lots of people who said, "Hey, I want nothing to do with this. It costs too much. It's meaningless." Blah blah blah, and they didn't go. But my recollection is there was a bunch of Southsiders that night who might not have been as visual as usual, but there definitely were some vocal to that night. I can't remember if you were in the ground, Michael.
I
I,
was at the game. I got bored and went to Costco and then
right.
came back for the
But
post
there
game
was,
stuff.
but there was some vocal support, right?
Yeah. From what I remember, it's a long time ago. I struggle with
How was
last.
Costco?
It was good. I love their poutine.
Yeah.
Right, but no, but like, so I think going forward, hopefully this is something Axel and his team learns from.
Yeah.
And if this type of opportunity comes again, they'll say, "Yeah, we'd love to take you up on that. However, our supporters need to be there. They need to be in their
Yes.
usual spot. They need to have their usual rights and privileges to make it what is a meaningful game for us and for because that was the one of the things where whether it would have impacted the result or not, that's a whole other story that we won't get into. But in terms of the Whitecaps having it as an exposure thing, you have all these Wrexham people. They come to a Whitecaps game and they're like, "Oh wow, this is really quiet."
Well,
Right?
that's what I was going to say. This was a huge wasted opportunity
Yeah.
because, like, one of the things that really excited me for this was, and folk can poo-poo this, but I feel it's true. I know everyone's there to see Wrexham, but was a chance for the Whitecaps to get exposure to 34,000 people, the most of which probably haven't been to many, if any, Whitecaps games, and they're not Whitecaps fans. You put in an electric performance and they're like, do you know, I'd like to come back and see our local team. So there's that aspect of it. You're also, you're going to be on the documentary series. You're going to be seen around the world, and it's your chance to showcase the club to a worldwide audience. Also, you've got the chance for the Wrexham players, and we'll hear from one in the next part, George Evans, who loved the city. And from what I can gather from speaking to all the players, they all loved Vancouver. They thought it was an absolutely beautiful city. George Evans said, I want to come back here and bring his family back here and see it, maybe even come and play here one day. Talk about that in the next part. But there was all these opportunities, and the flip side of it is the Whitecaps didn't put out a strong team. Now, Fafa Pico and Andres Kubis were given the week off because they didn't get the week off in June because they were on international duty. So they're allowed a week off with their MLS contracts. So that's fair. Ryan Gall's obviously injured, and Tristan Blackman's injured. So it was a bit of a makeshift team. There was the 6 WFC2 call-ups as well. So it was fringe players, WFC2 players. It was a meaningless friendly. I'm fine with that. I genuinely am. I've seen some folk online, some tongue-in-cheek, but some meaning it, going, this was a disgrace for the Whitecaps to put that team out there. They didn't take this seriously. It's a friendly that they weren't putting on. The Whitecaps got accused of price gouging and not putting a full team out there. The pricing and the tickets had nothing to do with the Whitecaps. But it was, all that said, it was a wasted opportunity because the Whitecaps, despite Vanny saying that he was happy maybe with the first hour, and they played okay, but they were second best in the first hour. It felt a wasted opportunity to maybe win over new fans.
I disagree. I do not think it was a wasted opportunity because we got to see the grass. We got to smell the grass. We got to see a game on the grass, Michael and Zach. It was glorious.
Har also got to lift up the grass on Friday that crumbled in her fingers. And I was like, don't let anyone see you lift the grass up, Har.
It did crumble, that's true.
I think based on that response, I think Har might have done more with the grass than...
Well, did you hear Vanny post-game? He was going on about grass as well.
He loves grass too. Everyone loves grass. It's preferred, you know.
I've got to say, the pitch, they did a fantastic job. I genuinely expected it to cut up in the first 10 minutes. We've seen the pitches at Copa. This was a phenomenal job that they did.
It helped by not having a practice or training it, or having it being used beforehand.
Yeah.
But also, this is not the exact way the World Cup's going to go, right? Because
I've had different versions of that. Someone's told me that they're going to seed it, but someone was like, no, that's not right. This is kind of what they're going to do. They're going to put something over it and put the grass over it.
Well, I don't know.
Because there's was it 7 games now? I can't remember. Is it
seven? Yeah.
7
I don't
games.
know that pitch would hold up for 7 games.
That's not going to hold up for 7 games.
What I mean, like, yeah, that's...
They were saying it felt hard. Like, well, there's floorboards underneath it.
It looked better on TV than... I mean, not surprisingly, it looked better on TV than the usual.
It looked beautiful in person. And actually, like, Wrexham were very complimentary about it. Now, it might just be they're being polite because they're guests in the city.
Did you see Humphrey's I think Instagram story when the players first got on it? Or they're like, what do you think of the stadium? And a few of the guys are like, eh. And then a couple guys are like, oh, it's nice. And then the next guy was like, yeah, what he said. It was so fun.
Well, you're going to hear from Stephen Fletcher in the next part, and he thought it was phenomenal, the stadium. He loved it.
I need to listen to that. I'm not sure what he said.
Yeah, Har and me spoke to Stephen Fletcher, and Har couldn't understand half of it. It's much like you're going to hear me chatting with Owen O'Connell as well, And afterwards, I was leaving with Ben Milger and Barry DeLay, and they were like, I didn't understand what the two of you were talking about. Because as we got talking, my Scottish bro got stronger and Owen's Irish bro got stronger.
It was cool to see.
Yeah, I genuinely really enjoyed the occasion. It was a lot of fun. Going back to the wasted opportunity aspect, if the Whitecaps can get any new fans out of this, it's been worthwhile. They've come away with a high-profile game. They've got to test the grass at BC Place.
No injuries.
No injuries. It's got a lot of buzz. If you're going to do a game like this is the perfect time to do
They
it.
got to get Joe Bendick some minutes.
Yeah. Let's hope we never see Joe Bendick play for the Whitecaps again. I'm just going to come out and say it. He looked slow and old.
I don't know if those goals are his fault, but
I'm not saying they're his fault. He was slow and old.
Oh. The result, I know it's a friendly and it's meaningless and whatever. You still don't want to lose like that because I mean, so many people in the build-up of this are like, the prices are crazy that the promoter is charging because it's a League One side or a League Two side that's been promoted to League One. Well, when you make those kind of comments and then they come and they beat you, obviously, yeah, the Whitecaps had a very young squad out at the end. It's just not helpful. Like I know it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just not helpful.
No, well, I woke up on Sunday morning to a message from my friend Fat Doug, who's one of the co-hosts on our East 5 podcast, Glory Days of Gold. Do you know why he's called Fat Doug?
Is he large?
His name's Doug and he's fat. So
yeah,
we don't go for fancy nicknames in Scotland. Okay. That was his username in the old AFTN.
What did he say?
Anyway, he said, pumped 4-1 by Wrexham. Second string, I hope. And I explained it was 1-1 until we brought on all our young guys for their first ever appearances, just as Wrexham brought on all their star players off the bench at the same time.
Sound like an Italian guy.
Yeah, the timing was not fantastic for that, and that's when the game got out of hand. But I do agree, Zach, folk will just look at the result, and it's not a good result for MLS. It's not a good result for the Whitecaps on paper. Yeah. Without delving into the actual game, which folk don't do these days.
That's kind of what Vanny said as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's true though, but yeah. I mean, there's a couple of positives to take out of it as well. I thought Bilal Halbouni looked pretty decent.
He was good. He was good.
Alexander Schopf as well seemed to be up for the big occasion.
And Bova.
Yeah. Oh, what a goal by Bovalina.
Yeah.
Zach's doing his best Donald Trump face there.
What?
You look like Donald Trump there. Less orange.
Easy, Tiger. I texted you when it went in. I was just like, Howard's like the old keeper who's been there for a long time or whatever, and he has some dodgy moments. I mean, it was a nice strike by Bovalina, but Howard gets a hand to it and should put that around the post or over the bar. I think it looked better than it was. But
you think Arthur would have saved it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Arthur was one of the players that was talking on Thursday, and I wanted to speak to him after the game, but they didn't put him up because his story is phenomenal. He didn't start playing football until he was like 8 years old, and then he wanted to be goalkeeper. He told a story. He wanted to be goalkeeper because he didn't like the running, but he enjoyed football. And then as he started to play in goal, he started to love the fact that he could ruin people's days by keeping the goals out.
Well, to be fair, he ruined whose day was it? Ali Ahmed, right?
Oh, yes.
Big save.
Now, Ali Ahmed had a good game, and one of the things I was talking about in the pre-game show, another opportunity for the Whitecaps was if any of those players impressed Phil Parkinson, to bring him over, or anyone else watching the game. And Ali Ahmed's the immediate player that you think of. He had a good performance as well. The last thing I want to talk about this and opportunities is football entertainment on the pitch aside, because it wasn't a great game. You got 34,000 plus out for this. I've always been open to us hosting friendlies here that don't involve the Whitecaps mid-season. So bring an Italian team and an English team or a Scottish team. Like if you had Celtic, Rangers, or one of the big English teams here, you've got that expat community. Play a Milan, a Juventus. You've got the Italian community. That would pack BC Place. And I think
No, because they won't play on turf. They would want grass.
But they put turf in again, like TEG did. A promoter will look at this and think, oh, there's maybe an opportunity to do this. And I hope they do.
Maybe.
Because Vancouver's a soccer city and it deserves to get these kind of games that are always all over the States. And I can't be arsed with friendlies at the best of times, but even I would get up for a Man City, Juventus, AC Milan game at BC Place.
And we would complain about having to deal with another promoter for another game.
They probably would complain, yeah. But like Zach, Bayern Munich against Chelsea, say at BC Place, you know that would pack the place out.
The last time I went to a Bayern Munich versus Chelsea game, it didn't go so well.
Oh yeah, do you know Fonzie was there? Oh, you do know? Yeah, we were talking about that. Fonzie
was there. Yeah.
I hoped to see him after the game.
We didn't see him or Ryan or Rob.
My last story from Saturday. I turned up early to do the radio. I unfortunately arrived at the stadium the same time as Ryan Reynolds.
Uh-oh.
So when I got in the media entrance, the elevator was closed because Ryan was coming in with his police escort up above, so no one could use the elevator and come out where he was coming. So I got sent walking around the stadium, just made it up to when my start time was meant to be. It was delayed anyway, so it was fine. After the game, I thought, they're going to shut down the elevators. I want to get away right at the final whistle. Stood just to see what the Wrexham players were doing. Thought, this could be a long post game. I'm going to go for a piss. Bad mistake. Got to the elevator. It opened. Folk got out. The woman was like, "Oh, you're media. You can go in." So I went in the elevator, and the guy's like, "No, you can't be in here. Where Ryan Reynolds is coming out." I was like, "Oh, I'm fine to stay. It's okay." And it's like, and I was like, "No, it's okay. I'll go." So then I had to go to the other elevator. By which time, everyone else had got downstairs before me because they went down the ramp.
Rookie mistake.
So I twice Ryan Reynolds shafted me. I mean, my wife would dream of that, but that's a whole other story.
It would have been nice if he spoke to the media and kind of said why he wanted to bring the team to Vancouver, what it meant to him, how special it was. But I can see, he does a lot of media. He probably didn't want to get bothered. He was there with his family, but yeah, it would have been nice.
He doesn't need you guys. He just tells it on his social media and everyone reads it.
And Rob McElhenney was there as well. And genuinely, I could have walked past Rob McElhenney in the concourse and I would not have recognised who he was.
It's always sunny when he's around, though. So
for the Whitecaps, this was just a kind of training exercise. Get some players' minutes, have a look at some of the WFC2 guys that I'm sure Vanny maybe learned from some of them. They're not quite ready for the first team just yet, especially in the defensive side. But for Wrexham, as Zach mentioned, it was a big game. It was a chance to get ready for the League One action getting underway next week as they take on Wycombe Wanderers. 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. So 5:30 Pacific time, that should be good. So I'm going to play some audio. I got to ask Phil Parkinson some questions at the pressers on Friday and Saturday. So just meshed them together just about his preparation from these games and getting ready for the League One season. So Phil, obviously with the team now having all this attention worldwide on it, expectations are higher. Having a couple of draws now against Premier opposition, does that just raise it even more for you?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, 2 really good games we've had so far, very competitive games, and really enjoyed the atmospheres in the games. And yeah, expectancy is always been high on us at Wrexham because of the profile of the club. So yeah, we're preparing well for the season. We've got work to do yet, but the squad's looking in a good place. The lads have enjoyed the trip, and yeah, can't wait for the final game tomorrow.
We touched on this when you did the call a few weeks back, but you've been in League One before. I think this is your 7th club in League One. You've got promotion out of the league as well, but you also know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about going from being the big fish in a small pond in National League and League Two to now having these teams that probably have more spending budget than you've got?
Yeah, no, good question. I think it's something we've spoke about, playing that underdog card, because of course, like you rightly say, there's some huge clubs who've spent an awful lot of money already in this transfer window, and whereas last year we went to grounds and everybody wanted to beat us, we were the big team coming into town. It's going to be different, and the advantage of that is that there is a lot of expectancy on teams in League One. The Birminghams and Boltons and Charltons and those types of team, Huddersfield and plenty more. Who will be expected to be right at the top of the league. So we're building a squad. We've got work to do, but we're getting there. And we want to be as competitive as we possibly can be, because it's great for the club. It's the first time in this division in 19 years, and everybody's very excited about getting back into League One. And it's difficult at the moment to completely judge everyone's squads, because there's changes happening all the time. Every day people are signing players, some are moving on. So I think that the key to it is to build a squad which has got good depth. I think that's so important. My experience of being a manager in any league, you've got to accept you're going to get injuries, you're going to get suspensions, the games come thick and fast. You've got to make sure you've got cover in all areas, and we're trying to piece that together. And my first year at the club in the National League, that cost us, where we didn't have strong enough players in behind the first 11. The second year we rectified that, and we're working towards that now.
With a look now to the League One season that's going to get underway, what have you learned about your team from these 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a good buy-in for the culture we've tried to create, and we've integrated the new lads well. We know what we're all about as a team. We know our identity, and we're strong and we're confident. We've got a good winning mentality, and we've got to keep that. Just think the most important thing for us is a continuation of where we've been in terms of the way we want to play. We've done some work with the lads in terms of showing them footage from last season, just reminders of what we feel is important to win football games, and gradually just drip-fed bits into them over the course of the tour. And as you can see, the lads have responded really well.
And I don't know how much you got to see of Vancouver in your time here, but what have you made of the city?
Oh, amazing. Loved it. I had a good look round last night, went to the park and went round that, and had a lovely meal in the city, and all the lads and the staff have had a look round. It's a fantastic place, and very fortunate to live here.
So Phil Parkinson there, just talking about how important these games were, looking ahead to the League One season. And it's going to be tough for them, because they've got a target on their back. They know that, but they're in with some big spenders this year in League One. Next up for the Whitecaps, it's LAFC in League Cup's action on Tuesday, followed by a visit of Club Tijuana. Har, I know you're not really caring about the Leagues Cup.
I don't care. This is a Mickey Mouse tournament. I do not care.
I'm with Har on this one. This is a tournament that's ruining American football.
It's like it killed the Open Cup. I was genuinely excited for it last year because I love cup football, and I enjoyed it last year. And I'll probably enjoy some of the games this year. Haven't had a chance to catch up in the weekend's action for obvious reasons.
There's too many games.
Oh, I know. I hope to, like, in the next couple of days, to catch up with all the games so far. I've got some in the PVR, and we'll see what happens
I'll
there.
probably have to write about a drone story anyway, so who cares?
Probably. I'm not as excited this year, I've got to say, but it would be good for the Whitecaps to get tested against Mexican opposition if they can get through to the knockout stage, to maybe face another Mexican team in that, and hopefully not an MLS team. But I asked Vanny after the game on Saturday just how ready he was for the LAFC game. Did he see the actions of a certain Tijuana coach from the LAFC Tijuana game at the weekend? Here's the gaffer. So, Vanny, you said yesterday that you were kind of looking at this game with an eye to the game coming up on Tuesday and the Leagues Cup as well. Did you learn anything from your players in that one?
I did. In terms of the projection to the Leagues Cup, like the first 60 minutes were the indication that I looked for. And I had a couple of good, I would say, response. Bilal Al-Bouni. I think he played a very good game. Alessandro did very well. I saw Alessandro in the rhythm of the Alessandro of the beginning of the season, like that he can be a menace in the 8 wing back position. The other thing is probably that we have to do things differently offensively if we don't have Ryan Gold. That's pretty simple.
Just looking ahead to the Leagues Cup then that's coming up. I don't know how much did you see the game last night?
I actually did. I just saw the highlights and I saw that the Tijuana coach pulled the Vanni. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. It's like he's probably not going to be in the touchline with you next Saturday, but are you looking forward to that test that's coming up now?
Yes. I'm happy that LA won for a simple reason. Not because nothing against Tijuana, because in this way we have two possibilities to qualify. We either like if we win one of the two games, we are in, and we can treat the LA games like almost like a bonus game. We go there with no fear, with no almost no consequence, because then here there's no tie, so there's no goal difference or whatever. Here against Tijuana, even if it doesn't go well, it becomes like an elimination game. So it's that's the good thing that's gonna bring us going there with the awareness that it's gonna be really hard, but also a little bit lighthearted that we can go for it without if we lose it's gonna be we are out or whatever. Yes.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all.
So the gaffer there on the tie. Zach, did you see JCO getting sent off? No.
You were loco. Oh. He was loco.
So one of his players, an LAFC player, went straight through the back of Rivera and he hit the ground and was unconscious.
Oh.
And JCO lost it. He yelled really loudly in one of the officials' ears and then squared up to, I think, the fourth official and put the head in on him.
Yeah.
And got sent off and then did not leave the bench.
He pulled the Vanni.
Yeah. Vanni said afterwards, I saw the coach did a Vanni.
Well, Vanni got a yellow card in this game.
Yeah.
He did.
He threw the bottle down in disgust. It hit his foot and went on the pitch, so it's an automatic yellow.
Yeah. I asked
but
him
then
about
he was losing it with Alain Rouche, the fourth official. He thought it was a throw-in that led to the first goal. I thought he was complaining about the possible handball, but it was the throw-in.
It's a friendly game.
Yeah, so it's good to see how he handles a friendly.
Yeah, but we were joking, like his psych coach or whoever it was that he saw will be like, oh no.
Imagine if a documentary crew followed the Whitecaps around for a whole season.
Well, I did ask Vanni, like, would he like that? Would he like a Whitecaps documentary? And he said, you know me, I love to be in front of the camera. It's my best Vanni impersonation. But I genuinely, I waited to Nathan left the room to ask that question because Nathan would be like, I don't want any more work. I have enough, thank you very much, without a documentary. But I would love them to do it. It would put them on the map. I mean, they need to be involved with a podcast.
He'd be getting fined all the time, though.
Yeah. I did wonder when he had all the, if that was just to make the documentary. Yeah. But that was it. That was the whole Wrexham circus. That's all we're going to talk about the game. But we're going to bring you some audio in the next part from Wrexham's Owen O'Connell, George Evans, and Stephen Fletcher. And we'll be back with that after our final song from our album of the month.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
He was gonna plan all the lies of modern man.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. They support us. Go and support them for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, it's that sad time of the month. It's the last song from our album of the month for July, Cork band, the Frank and Walters, with a song from their self-titled collection from their first 3 EPs, and that was Humphrey. And that song was the whole reason that I actually picked the Frank and Walters this month to be the album of the month, because Wrexham, of course, their CEO is Humphrey Carr. So when I was listening to this album in the car driving down to Oregon last month, this song came on and I was like, oh, got to play that for when Wrexham come to town. And I was like, you know what? Let's just make them album of the month. It's a fantastic album. They're a fantastic band. Check out all of their stuff in all the usual places. They're still going strong all these years later. Humphrey Carr, as I mentioned there, was at the Whitecaps game, of course, on Saturday. And I got a chance to quickly chat to him before the game and invited him to come on the show. And he's going to come on later on in the year. So looking forward to that. We'll have a chat with Humphrey about Wrexham. But in particular, I'm looking forward to chatting to him about the Penny Dreadfuls, which is a comedy troupe that he was in. And also, he's working at the moment on a Christmas West End production, Sherlock Holmes and the 12 Days of Christmas. And he's working on that in conjunction with Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. And the Frank and Walters, a band from Cork in Ireland. Do you know who else is from Cork? Well, Sultans of Ping A.F.C, another fantastic Cork band. But football-wise, hailing from Cork is the man that wore the captain's armband for Wrexham against the Whitecaps at BC Place on Saturday, Owen O'Connell. The 28-year-old experienced centre-back moved to Wrexham in the winter transfer window of 2023. So he's been with the club for just over a year and a half. And his club career has seen him start off at Celtic. He had loan spells with Oldham, his hometown club of Cork City, Walsall, before moving to Bury, Rochdale, Charlton, and then on to Wrexham. He's a man that's had a lot of experience in English League One. And he's certainly a player that Wrexham will be relying on heavily, you feel, in this first year back in the third tier. And got a chance to speak to Owen O'Connell on Friday, just before the Whitecaps game, to talk about all those things. And let's find out who his favourite band from Cork is. You've been with Wrexham now for about a year and a half. I know you've been at Celtic in the past as well, so that's like being in a goldfish bowl in Scotland. But did anything prepare you for this attention that you're getting now on a worldwide scale?
I don't know really. I think, like you said, I was at Celtic before, and that is a massive club. I think, you can't, I was only a young player there, but still you get a lot of attention and things like that. So I've had that kind of preparation, but I think this is a little bit different. I think because I joined in January, it was kind of very full on straight away at the time, so I didn't really have time to bed in. But it didn't really hit me, I suppose, until first what I saw what it meant to the town when we got promoted, and then obviously I come over here in pre-season last year, and it was like, I remember going out for the warm-up in the first game in North Carolina and thinking this is incredible. And to be honest, I've never really been one to kind of get carried away by stuff like that, but I think the level of support is incredible. We walk down the street here or even in Los Angeles, and you get people shouting across the road at you and stuff. So it's really is incredible, and I think it's just brilliant to be a part of.
You've been in League One for a number of seasons in the past. When you were in it with the likes of Rochdale, it was a much different budget, much different expectations. And it's important, obviously, for experienced guys like you to keep calmness in the squad and not to let players think too far ahead of themselves. But is it also hard not to think, oh, we've had back-to-back promotions and we're going to be unstoppable now?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I've experienced kind of both ends of it. But yeah, it's a fine balance really between, you know, when you are going well, you want to ride the wave. I think momentum's really important, and certainly in such a long season. But like you said, yeah, I've been at both ends of the spectrum, I suppose, in terms of this league. So yeah, I think it is important. I think last year was kind of a bit different to the National League campaign, where obviously we had one or two runs last year where things weren't going well, and I think that's the job of, I suppose, the experienced players then, to make sure everyone stays level-headed. I think, you know, when you're winning all the time, everyone comes in and it's great, but I think the real test is how you can be when things aren't going great, and can you stay level-headed and keep everyone together. And I think that's what we did really well last year and even the year before. I think just stay on an even keel and keep trying to perform well, and then you know, I think the results follow that.
And a bit of a weird one to finish, but on our show we've got an album of the month, and it just happens to be the Frank and Walters, who are from Cork.
Yeah. So
who's your favourite Cork band?
I would probably say the Frank and Walters. Yeah, I think I went to see them live actually in my local GA club about 2 or 3 years ago. So I was rocking that night, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I was at Crow Park for the All-Ireland semi-final against Limerick a couple of weeks ago, and they played the Frank and Walters over the Tannoy after Cork won. So yeah, it was very good.
First band I ever saw live.
Yeah, they're good as well.
Wrexham's Owen O'Connell there, great player, a great man to chat with as well. Wish we could have had a little bit more time with him. He was listed by the Journal in Ireland as one of the 10 most promising young Irish footballers at one point, but he had a very good outing against the Whitecaps, and he's also got a great taste in music, fan of the Frank and Walters. His experience will certainly come in useful with Wrexham this season as they're starting off their League One campaign, and it's going to be relying, I think, on a lot of these older heads in the club for how well they do, because League One is notoriously such a difficult league to get out of. You've seen it with Leeds, you've seen it with Sunderland, with Bolton, with Wigan. Once you drop down to that level, it's a very good level, and it's really hard to get out of. And you're seeing clubs, Birmingham City, Bolton, spending big money this off-season to make sure that their stay down there is very, very limited. And Wrexham, they've been the big boys in National League. They've been the big fish in League Two last year, but they're not the big spenders in League One this year. And it's kind of dampening down those expectations, I think, of the club. We spoke about that with Phil Parkinson in the last part. It's going to rely on the experienced players in the team, the guys that have been in League One before, to say, look, that this is not going to be a cakewalk. We are going to have to battle for every single point. And one of those players is English midfielder George Evans. The 29-year-old came through the Man City Youth Academy. He's played in League One. He's played in the Championship as well. He's another player that came to Wrexham in 2023, joining in September of last year on a 2-year contract. Just this summer has signed a 2-year extension as well to stay with the club. I got a chance to chat with George as well after the game on Saturday, just to get his thoughts on the season ahead for Wrexham. So, George, you've had the 3 games on this trip. How prepared do you feel this has got the team for a tough League One season ahead?
Yeah, I think it's been a great trip for us. You know, it's been 3 really tough games for us. We learnt a lot defensively. I think even today they've seen the quality that they have in the ball, and it's been a great preparation trip for us. And we know it's going to be a tough season in League One, and yeah, we're feeling ready.
You've been in League One a couple of times yourself before. You've played at a higher level. I saw a thing this week that the top 10 transfers of all time in League One, and 5 of them's been this off-season by other teams that's not Wrexham. What are you expecting from this season? There's a lot of pressure on you to go back to back, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, look, we know League One's getting tougher every year. A lot of teams are obviously chasing Championship and beyond. And yeah, last year obviously we were not expected to go up, but we we all knew in ourselves that it was the main goal, and obviously it's not going to stop here as well. But there's a lot of other teams now who are going to try and do the same thing. But we back ourselves all day. We've got a fantastic squad, fantastic manager, great staff, and as a club as a whole, we're going in the right direction.
Just last thing for me, did you get a chance to check out the city here much, or are you staying for the fireworks tonight?
It's beautiful here, yeah. We've been here for a couple of days now and had a few afternoons to get around the city, so we've been down by the water. A lot of lads have been getting about, walking around, and a few lads went towards the mountains as well. It's been a great experience for us, you know. It's a beautiful place here, and for sure I'd like to come back.
George Evans there. I had a quick chat with him as well after recording. I was saying, fancy coming over here sometime and playing some football, plying your trade over here, and very much up for it. That obviously won't come for a while now that he signed that extension with Wrexham. But yeah, he's the kind of player you would welcome in the Whitecaps, you'd welcome in MLS. He definitely wants to come back for a visit, if nothing else. Really loved the city, but he's someone to keep on the Whitecaps' radar. So a couple of experienced players we've heard from there, Owen O'Connell and George Evans. One of the older players on the Wrexham side is my fellow Scot, Stephen Fletcher. And when this friendly was announced, I was excited for the chance to speak to Stephen, see him play on the pitch, been a big fan of him for years, had 33 caps for Scotland, 10 goals in those 33 caps as well. He's played for Hibs, Burnley, Wolves, Sunderland, Marseille, Sheffield Wednesday, Stoke, and Dundee United before making the move to Wrexham, signing on 8th of September, and he clocked up his 400th English League appearance on January 1st as well. Bagged a hat-trick for Wrexham as well, his first hat-trick in the English Leagues in a 4-1 win against Barrow. When I saw Stephen Fletcher play against Bournemouth, I was like, great, he's over here. Then he didn't play against Chelsea midweek, and I was like, oh, maybe they're just resting him. But then wasn't in the lineup for the game against the Whitecaps. Turns out he got an injury, which is why he didn't play. And I was disappointed because I was like, really had hoped to chat with him after the game. But after we'd done all the post-game pressers, took a wander along to the Wrexham locker room, and a lot of the players had left by that point, but hanging around outside was Stephen Fletcher. So Har and myself managed to grab a couple of minutes with the Scot just to chat about his time with Wrexham, his fellow Scot here in Vancouver, Ryan Gauld, and just his thoughts on the city and BC Place. So, Stephen, another season coming up with Wrexham. Obviously, a lot of pressure on the team with what's been achieved so far, but it's a tough league to get out of, League One.
Oh, it is a tough league, but I think quite a lot of the boys have played in it before, so we know what to expect. That's only the only league I've not played in, funny enough. So yeah, that'll be a little milestone for me, playing in every league when I do make my debut in the league. But no, we know what to expect, and we've had a good pre-season, so we're looking forward to it.
How have you found your time at Wrexham? Is it weird having like camera crews following around and all the attention that you get?
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't weird, but no, it's good. You kind of have to embrace it. If you're coming in as a new player, you've got to embrace it because it's there and they're always there every day. So, but no, we've got a great squad, which kind of helps in that aspect. So you've always having the banter around the change room and stuff, and around the physio department. So it's been good.
Stephen, what did you make of the crowd and the atmosphere here tonight?
That was great. 35,000. Can't complain with that. It was. I think obviously it helps that they're in season right now, so the fans are obviously coming to watch because obviously you play against Bournemouth and Chelsea and the home crowds aren't there, but obviously playing here against these and having their home crowd here helps with the atmosphere.
Grass is not as common here in Vancouver, it is across the pond. What did you make of seeing that and having a game played on that tonight?
It looked fine. Obviously I never played on it, so I couldn't tell you how it felt, but it did. It looked fine. Yeah, I'm hearing that for the World Cup it'll be getting used as well. So yeah, to me it looked fine.
Ryan Gauld, he's a legend here. He's out with a knee injury. Have you come across him in your past? Do you guys know each other a little bit?
I just spoke to Ryan there. When I was a regular in the national team, Ryan was a young kid and he came and trained with us to give him a bit of experience in the national team for the first team, and you could tell from then he was a special talent, and he got his move to obviously Sporting Lisbon at the time. But I've not seen him for a long time, and seeing him there, I'm sad that he wasn't playing today. It would have been good to watch him.
Last one from me. We're still perplexed as to why Goldie's not been given an opportunity on the Scottish national team. Do you have a thought on that?
that's not for me to say, but obviously they qualify for a major tournament, so he's not doing too bad, the manager, with picking a squad. But like I said, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, I'm sure there'll be a phone call sooner or later.
What did you make of Vancouver? What have you made of the MLS stadiums? Do you wish you'd maybe given it a try over here?
Obviously, you've always got that in the back of your mind that it'd be nice to come over and play. But I'm 37 now. I don't think there'll be many suitors for me to come over and play at this age. But no, it's been great, and the stadiums are fantastic. You can't complain with these, can you? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the time, Stephen. Fantastic. Catching up with Stephen Fletcher there. Really grateful that he took time to chat with us. Didn't have to. Hadn't been playing. And a lot of these players, they don't have to speak to the media if they don't want to. But he gave us those few minutes. I could have asked him a lot more. Didn't want to overstay our welcome with him. But it was great chatting to all the Wrexham guys. As I mentioned in the last part, was at that Men in Blazers event on Thursday night. All the guys that spoke there as well were so nice, so welcoming, and really wish Wrexham all the very best for this season to come. Looking forward to seeing how they do in English League One. And who knows, maybe we'll see them back here in Vancouver one day. But that is it for the Whitecaps Wrexham chat. Of course, it's not it for the show. There's still time for this episode's Wavelength, this section of our show that we've been running since 2017, where we play a song about football. And of course, there was only one theme we could have for the song this week. Of course, it's Wrexham A.F.C. related. This is a song by Welsh punk ska band Ratarst, and it's about the man who got a goal and 2 assists against the Whitecaps on Saturday, the 29-year-old English forward, Elliot Lee.
To get the football down, a chink of shimmy beats his man, he just don't care. They come to watch his skill from everywhere. I saw me mate the other day, said that he saw the white ballet. When I asked who is he goes by the name of Elliot Lee. Elliot Lee, Elliot Lee, he goes by the name of Elliot Lee. Out of this hell, there's opposite from all in other teams nightmare. They come to watch his skill from everywhere. Sorry mate, the other day said that he saw the white ballet. When I asked who is he goes by the name of Elliot Lee. Elliot Lee, Elliot Lee, he goes by the name of Elliot Lee.
Ratars there with their song from 2023, Elliot Lee. That is it now, though, for the show. Thank you for staying with us. There's been a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. Just before we go, Har, let everyone know where they can find all your stuff online.
Equalizer Soccer. I'll be in my bunker, typing away, reading all the statements, all the press conferences, up to date on all the happenings of DroneGate and the cheating scandal. I have some time now that I'm not writing about grass, so that's what I'll be up to.
And give her a follow as well on X at Har Journalist. And talking of bunkers, Zach, you're about to be a big fan of bunkers of German descent.
Oh my goodness, Michael. You can find me on X occasionally posting, I guess, at Zachary AM. I just want to say, I know we don't have time to talk CPL, but yeah, but I'm going to talk CPL anyways. Since I last was on the show, I had two amazing away experiences for CPL matches. The first was the 3-3 draw for Vancouver A.F.C. at Forge. Was really great there to connect with James Hutton and Nico in their communications department, and to kind of get the behind the scenes there, and kind of they rolled out the red carpet. It was kind of great. So really enjoyed that. And that was the day that Canada was playing Venezuela, and so right after the game, they put the game on the big screen in the stadium.
Oh yeah.
You could stay in the stadium. You could come up to the club lounge, which is where we were, and where the media, the post-match press conference was, and all that. And it was great. It was awesome. It was so awesome. It was a lot of fun. So huge thanks to James Hutton for that, and for hooking me up, and for being an amazing host. And then this week, a little less expected and less planned. Yeah, we were at Canada's Wonderland, and the kids were getting a little tired. And I was like, "Hey, do you want to go to the football?" And even my daughter's like, "Yeah, my feet are tired. Let's go to the football." She's like, "Can we sit down?" I was like, "Yeah, you can sit down at this match." So we went to York Lions Stadium for the first time, and like I said to you, Michael, I know it comes across not great always on the broadcast. Kind of like it suffers a little bit from the same thing that they do in Ottawa, where the cameras are on the one side and no one's anywhere else, and all the people are there. And actually, the game we were there, I didn't check the actual attendance, but it was one of their fuller nights, I think, because Jorge Campos was there, the Mexican owners brought in Jorge Campos to do like post-match whatever, and meet and greet and sign and wave and whatever. But the game itself was a really intriguing game between. Well, it was top of the table clash. It was Let's Go Ottawa. I think it was 4-1 in the end.
Give us a follow. AFTN Canada on Twitter, AFTN Soccer on Instagram, AFTN Canada on YouTube. We'll be back with another show next week. Who knows what the week in the exciting, wacky world of Canadian football will bring. We'll cover it all here on the AFTN Soccer Show. Thanks for listening. Take care. Mon the Caps, and Ali LaRouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
Yeah, but